internet, everyone.
It's really good for the pineal gland.
Looks like aluminum.
It's a
Did you
tin
wear one of
hat.
those hats?
It's a tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat. What the heck? So
I
today
used to
we're
drive with this, man. I used to drive this with like a little Harry Potter hat on.
wow.
My mom was like, I don't think you would have drive like that.
All right. So today's talk, guys, is about lucid dreaming. Since so many of our fans and so many people out there have questions about what does it take to lucid dream and how to do it properly, because so many people can just either got scared and they ran away from their so-called lucid dream, or B, they just don't know how to handle it. So today we're going to talk about how to do it. So who in here ever experienced any lucid dream? Like, just raise your hand. How many? Come on up. And if you are out on the YouTube videos, please let us know. Wait, what's going on?
Conjecture. Oh, I thought that was Adrian.
Robert Cleaver, how you doing, man?
Hey, man.
All right, so here's the question for Robert: is that how many times do you ever have like any lucid dreams or that are terrifying? Anything, like tell us about it, or anyone here.
Well, if they're terrifying, you could just think of something else and change it.
Yes.
Yeah, or you felt like something that really got your attention the most. Like, is it good, bad, evil, or whatever you call it? Just give a shout out.
I've had the kind of lucid dream I've had is when I've woken up into another dream and then I know that I'm dreaming and then I'm fighting to wake back up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, when we get into these lucid dreams, man. Yeah. That's where I met Kurt Cobain.
Say that again. You said it wasn't a lucid dream. I mean, I understand that a lucid dream is, you know, you're in control of your environment, but I guess.
You know, it'd be funny.
Where
if it waters just like showed up in here, just like, oh, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, it would be awesome, because the thing is I have no idea. Like, sometimes when you think something is real, or something that happens in your life and you thought it was real, when you woke up, you all of a sudden say, am I just dreaming? Or is this just happening?
Yeah.
I've had one bona fide premonition. It took about 8 months to unfold. The eventuality of it was 5 people that I was my family members, my girlfriend, her brother, all in one place. And it was impossible at the time. It was working in a factory, and 8 months later, all of a sudden, we're all working at Tito's vodka factory on the assembly line. And in the dream, someone got crushed by a pallet falling off a forklift, and they're stacked, you know, five cases high or whatever it was. And just so happened that we got hired. Yeah, when we all got hired, there was simultaneous. And just so happened that they had to restack the warehouse for fire code. They had to remove a layer from each one. So there was forklift activity going on in the area where we were at. And they ended up dropping a pallet after I insisted on moving my area of the family down the assembly line. So that's the only one I've ever had that's absolutely specific.
Oh wow. Wow. Does that sound like an omen to you?
That's only happened once.
Gee. Wow.
I've had injuries followed that have, you know, that's been fruitious otherwise, but as far as experience is concerned, no, that's about the only time that it's ever.
Do you know that omen backwards is Neo? I mean Nemo.
Nemo.
But I don't know, from what I would take from that is like, I don't know. What I think about dreams is like, I don't know, I think even what we're experiencing now is like a dream too. And so like in dreaming it's just like the next level of what we're experiencing now. But like, I don't know, like if you look at the way like time is more of an illusion, like I feel like it's even more so on the like more dream realms. Like the like so like basically like I guess like it's I would just say it's like it's not so much that you went into the future, it's just that like you saw time happening as it happened or whatever. If that makes sense. I don't know. It's hard for me to put into
Yes,
words.
that
But
does
like,
make sense. Because here's the thing
cause
is
like
that
you can have a dream, or what's my bad, but
Mhm.
you can have like a dream that lasts like that'll feel like really long a lot of times, and then like in reality it could just be like, or in this space it can just be like a couple of minutes, if that makes sense. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like time's only the way we like perceive it in our minds, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
and that's why
dreams where
you're,
you're
Yeah.
completely
yes,
out
that's
of
why
time. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Because the thing is when it comes to dreams, it's almost like as though we are presented a different reality of or an alternative reality of something that is beyond what we're seeing right now, you know?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, like you either like you're transported there. I don't know how that you become like you got there, but somehow you just know that you're there, and it presents some parts of yourself or something. Like seriously, if we know that it looks like it's a real thing, so seriously, what is lucid dreaming? Is it just simply traveling to a next realm and you experience something far that is like separate from yourself, or is it just you experiencing the same thing?
I would say I don't know, I'd say like if you look at the very like logical definition of like what is lucid dreaming, that'd be like being awake in a dream, or knowing you're in a dream while you're dreaming, obviously. But to me, like dreams in general, like this realm is a dream, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like even more so than when we're dreaming. So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like they're all just the same as this reality, like what we're experiencing now in the waking world. They're all just intertwined and like part of one big whole, but they have like their separate like ways of looking, or they have their different ways of looking separate from each other yet connected at the same time, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's hard for me to put into words, but I don't know, it's the same as this world, just a lot less physical and like dense, like higher vibration, I guess. I don't know. Anybody
Yeah, I
else?
mean, oh,
I was gonna say like, no, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say something that's always baffled me, even though I have been able to affect content of my dreams through intent, whatever I'm focusing on as I'm falling asleep, whether it's a specific topic or whatever. I've been a software programmer for years, and I've actually literally written code in my head and gotten up and in the morning and finished it. But the strangest thing is with the idea of the premonition that I had, I saw something that I'd never seen before, or that I saw something in a dream that I hadn't seen yet, and it was exact. I mean, the warehouse was very specific, and
Premonitions.
this isn't necessarily. It's not inappropriate. There's nobody young here. When I was going through puberty, and I was younger, I'd never seen a female's breast ever, right? And so I had a dream about the girl that I was you know, had a crush on at the time. But she got naked. There was no nipples. So how you know what I'm saying? Is your dream, is it a culmination of everything that you've experienced at some point? Because how can you have a premonition but then see something that's, you know, but then not be capable of seeing
There's
something?
many interpretations of dreams.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
definitely.
say,
Sometimes it's.
I would say,
No,
let's
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead, Drew.
Oh, okay. Alright, I would say it's like basically like what happens in the waking world like affects what happens in the dream world and vice versa. Like, but like I don't know, it's hard to. But yeah, I don't know. I guess also like if you, I don't know, it's hard to put my finger on what I'm trying to say here. But it's like I don't know what happens in this world happens in the waking world or dream world, vice versa, and then like at the same time, like if you can't perceive or if you can't, I don't know, like if just the way things work on this world, like if you can't see yourself doing something, like truly like believe in yourself doing something, like you're most likely gonna stop yourself from doing it. If that makes sense. So I guess it would be the same in the dream world. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does.
How about it's like texture mapping in a 3D game.
That's what I was saying
Yeah.
when I met Kurt Cobain.
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
When I was listening to a lot of Kurt Cobain interviews, and I haven't watched him in, forever. And basically, I was doing a lot of this before, and I went to sleep, and I went to this world, and this world was like, the way it was designed was like a 1990s Nintendo game or something, the way that it looked. And I saw Kurt Cobain there, and he's just, chilling. He's got this blanket on, and he's playing video games. But the place that we were was like set up like a video game. It was like Zelda or Star Fox or some shit, man. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
I sometimes feel like I'm in a video game just in the waking world. Does that ever happen to you guys? Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know, you feel like,
like
I
a
don't know,
Sims
like
character.
every now and then, like I'll just, like you'll just get the urge. I don't know, with me it's more like when I go to parks and shit. Sometimes I'll just get the urge to like run around and jump around and just do like random shit. If that makes sense, like almost like the way you would in a video game. You start playing and you're like messing around with all the controls and shit. I don't know. That happens to me every now and then.
Those errors.
Um, like the Sims.
What?
I feel it's a lot like that, except you don't have to read a book to get your fun up. Like you don't have to.
Yeah.
But like you can do these.
I always with me it's always like I feel like I'm more like a like a RPG type character or something where you just want to like I don't know.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like or like if you look at like when you first like if you play like Zelda or whatever, like how like you'll run around and like jump around and just do random shit until you like get the feel of the game. I don't know. That just happens to me every now and then. I don't know. It's kind of cool, but it's odd at the same time.
Like in this world, I mean, they're not like PS4 graphics or anything. These were like, Nintendo.
I've only had one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've had one cartoon dream. That was just the most bizarre shit ever. It was a bunch of old women. It was weird.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been into places, man. I went into this one place. I fell asleep listening to a radio show. They were talking about the fairy world. And I said, well, I really want to get in this place. And I just went to this green, like everything was green in this world as far as there's plants. There were like these businesses, and there were like gnomes and fairies and real like really giddy people, elves, and all these certain things.
Huh.
These were some horny people, man. Like I could walk around like for some chick like I mean.
So,
But
I just
yeah.
want to throw this out there real quick, just while it's still correlating between the two.
I don't know how many people. I mean, we've all played a video game, I'm guessing, but I don't know if anybody knows what the Oculus Rift is.
Oh
Anybody?
yeah.
Heard of it? I
Uh,
never played it.
Yeah, well, for those that don't know, it's like this whole next gen premise on video games that comes with like the headset, and there are like different accessories for it. Like one has like a trackpad, so when you quite literally begin walking, you're walking in the game, but you feel the ground under you moving because it's like a really small treadmill, and you turn, and it's all connected. But one really interesting premise I thought off of that was one of the really big things. This is coming from a past avid gamer. The only real thing that separates us from our games is the space. I don't know if anybody's ever been that deep in a video game, but when you're there, like
Yeah.
you are there, and it was really interesting because I was just watching a like review on it, and they were saying like that's the one thing that separates us from the games is the actual physical space. And now with the Oculus Rift, there's no longer that space difference. You know, you're right, quite literally there. And they were saying people's brains were actually having an interesting time adjusting to that because you're doing barrel rolls in a dogfight, you know, in a fighter jet, and you're getting sick because you've got this helmet on, and this is quite literally, you're sitting in the pilot seat doing barrel rolls, so people were like getting sick, and it was really interesting. But to tie that into lucid dreaming, I wonder how that will something so vivid now will like affect our dreaming later on, like
I
when it
think
comes out, because I think that'd be really interesting.
I know, right? In fact, I remember the last time when I read on Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung is that he.
Sigmund Freud.
I know. Seriously, like the thing is when I read this book on Carl Jung, the name of the book is called, what do you call it? How our souls awaken. It's almost like a book where people ask like, what is dreaming and how are we alive? And I found out that the thing about dreams, about how we experience things, it's like they're like holograms, you know? It's like one side you have reality, and the other side you have yourself. So what happens here affects the other one, and it's pretty weird. Like it's almost like as though, like for example, if I were to get on a jet plane right now, and if I play like as though I am flying the jet plane, then the next thing you know, when I start dreaming, I sense that I am driving the jet. That happens once when I was like 9 years of age, when I first learned how to like play my first airplane video game, like somewhere in the arcade or something, and that's how it happened.
That's interesting. I was going to say earlier, the strangest thing. It's only happened to me in the last, I'd say, 2 years. But I'll be sitting on a couch or in a chair or laying down or something like that, and I'll nod out, and the dream that I have is instant, and I get up and I do something, I get a drink or something like that, or a cigarette or whatever, and I wake up and I didn't do it, and it felt like completely real. It was insane. It only lasts like 30 seconds, It's
Whoa!
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. My grandma and I used to both have instances, like we used to talk about it, my grandmother and I, where, and I don't know if this has happened to anyone else, but it's quite literally, like I know it used to happen to me when I was in school, but I would I would wake up and I'd get ready for school and I'd eat breakfast and I'd get ready to catch my bus, and then I would actually wake up and realize I'm really late. And yeah, but that's the most like common.
Oh,
That's the most common one I've heard of, like among people, even who really don't consider lucid dreaming. Like you're quite literally like you think you're up and getting ready and eating, and then you wake up and you're like, crap.
Yeah, that one used to happen to me a lot when I was younger. Like, I'd get ready to go to school for the day and everything, and then, like, next thing I know, like, your parents are waking you up, like, mad at you for sleeping in and shit. And I'm just like, oh, I thought I was getting ready.
Exactly.
Hey, I think from what you guys said, it reminds me of something really, really funny when I was a child. Is that, in fact, this is this is actually one of the few funniest things I ever don't tell my audience is that I actually stopped peeing in my bed when I was 12. And it actually stopped because of a lucid dream. Is that there's this one time where I was in this middle of a graveyard. I walked into the graveyard and I was like, okay, this sounds scary, but I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna get in. But somehow, in my dream, I feel like, oh my god, I need to go pee so badly. I'm looking for a bathroom. And so I decided, oh wow, there's a churchyard over there. I'm gonna go sneak in. And then, lo and behold, a pool! Oh my god, I love it! I just ran in, unzipped my zipper, and just start peeing in that holy water. But somehow, whenever I was asking, okay, I'm done with this, but how come I feel so warm, like still on my bottom? And that's when I woke up and found out I just peed on my bed.
Oh god.
And that was the last time that happened.
That was when I was 10, and then the next one was 12, and I learned my lesson. So that's how I just like get out of it.
Oh wait. Well, here's the funny thing. Is like when I was young, I was like I was never like the type to have like what they call like the like wet dreams. That shit started happening to 15, 16.
You know, that's a really interesting point because, I mean, everyone's had wet dreams, right? So, and aren't those extremely, like, wouldn't that, upon review, now that I'm thinking about it, well, I don't know about everyone, but
Those are my most. Yeah.
populace, wouldn't that be like the perfect description of lucid dreaming because they're that real that they physically affect you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This whole phenomenon about like just how you can feel in your dream, you know what I mean? Like you can still feel everything just like you're awake, and that's why lucid dreaming is such a weird phenomenon for me because I'll try and figure out I'm dreaming, and I remember in certain lucid dreams of mine, or when I was realizing they were lucid dreams, like I would reach out and try to touch the person who I was with to like see if I could like grab her hand, and I would actually be able to grab her hand, and I would feel her skin under my hand like just like a regular human being, and I was like, well, I'm not dreaming, okay, this is real life, and then it's like, and then I woke up from that dream, and anyway, yeah, so it's just, how do you check? How do you dreaming?
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Bonnie. I ran across some interesting, like a few minutes ago, because I personally, outside of, I guess, the previous examples, haven't really had too many experiences with lucid dreaming, but apparently one was like, one was jumping, seeing if you just jump, or if you know what I mean, like you can keep going. Another is like taking your hand and pushing it through itself. Yeah, those are the only two I can remember now.
Yeah, I've heard of things like looking at a clock and
Yeah, looking at a clock and then being like, am I awake?
yeah. It's actually weird to me. The last like 3 lucid dreams I've had, I was walking through a mall. I don't go to the mall ever though, and I realized, well, I've had other lucid dreams since then, but I'm like walking through this mall, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I don't go to the mall. What am I doing here? Oh my gosh, I'm in a dream right now. Like, why am I at the mall in my lucid dream? Like, let's go somewhere else.
Well, you can do the wake to bed method. That's what I do. I pretty much have a lucid dream like every single morning or night if you want to. If you do the wake to bed method.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wake to bed method is basically like you sleep, say, till like 4 in the morning. And this works every time. I know this has worked every time, at least for me, is basically you're awake, say you wake up 4 in the morning. But the thing is, if you wake yourself up too much, you'll be in like the beta state, where you'll be beyond going back to sleep. You want to be at the point where like it's real easy for me because when I sleep in, my dog sleeps in my room, she'll start whining, whimpering around, the morning time. So all I got to do is just open the door.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've read
But
about that somewhere. It works pretty good. Yeah, it's
yeah,
something about it's something about when you first wake up and then fall right back to sleep without like waking all the way up. That makes it easier for your brain to like transition into the like lucid part of it versus just dreaming part. If that makes sense. I feel
yeah. I mean, all I have
like
to
that's.
do is
I think that's why. Or my bad. I think that's why like a lot of people have the dreams like when they're getting ready to go to work or go to school or whatever, and then they realize they're still in bed. It's because they did wake up for a split second and fell right back asleep, and their brain was still focused on like getting ready for the day. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, that makes
oh
perfect
yeah, oh
sense.
yeah.
Because like when you first wake up, and everybody, this is everybody. At least I know for me and everyone I've met thus far, everybody's like, "Oh, you were talking to me? Well, I wasn't awake." You know what I mean? Because when you wake up, you're not really awake, and there's that weird halfway state where you're
yeah.
like half asleep, half awake.
That's where you want. That's exactly where you want. See, like all I got to do is kind of walk like a couple feet to the door, open the door, and then lay back in bed. So like, I mean, it happens because I'm not at a point where. Wait, were you smoking, Sherman?
An American spirit.
Awesome.
We've all got our.
No, sorry, I got distracted. um, yeah. So basically, it's that state where it's just like you're not awake to the point where if like somebody slapped you or you slapped yourself on the face, like not too hard, but at a point where you'd be awake. It's just that bridge, like right before, it's like a little bit lower than like right in between being semi-asleep and semi-awake.
It's almost a haze.
Yeah, totally.
I've been there. Yeah, it's almost a haze. Yeah.
Yeah, but every time, man, it'll happen. But I found is like most of my lucid dreams, like them shits are always wet dreams, man. Can't control it.
I think it's just so funny you mentioned that though, because I never would have actually thought of wet dreams as lucid dreams, and those are like the most lucid dreams, quite literally, if you think about it in a way, because you have such a physical reaction to them.
Is it? I mean,
You know you're dreaming.
that's how you know. But the thing is, I've been in them dreams, man, and I got to a point where actually I couldn't tell the difference. Matter of fact, there were girls that like may have like see me or something, but I was so into the lucid dreaming, I like her. That's how crazy it got, man. I'm sorry, I'm gonna pass off some physical chicks for some dream chicks.
Oh,
That's
no,
crazy.
I don't really have too many wet dreams. Like they're really rare, but like whenever I do, I notice it's like you definitely remember them.
I
But
know,
like,
seriously.
but like, what was I? I was just gonna say something else too, but I forgot it now. Fuck. Never mind. I'll remember it in a minute.
Andy, I can
Yeah, I
get in
forgot.
that yoga position. I can get one leg up.
I noticed I used to tell myself what I want to dream about. Like, if I want to dream about that, Michael, I can just be like, okay, dream. It would be nice if this happened in it, and then go to sleep. And then it does, and I wake up, and it's whatever I wanted the dream to be. So it's interesting, this idea of putting intention into our dreams.
Yeah.
The thing about it with me is like I know there's other things I could be doing. Like, I could be flying. I could go visit Egypt or something. For some reason, I'm stuck. You know, if I run into some woman, that's it. You know?
Oh no, with me it's more like, I don't know, I try not to focus on the fact that when I do go lucid, that I'm lucid, if that makes sense, because then I feel like that takes away my control of the dream a little bit. I feel like, I don't know, it's like when you, for me it's like when you plan something out for the day and you have like a set plan to like follow versus like just going outdoors or to the park or somewhere and just enjoying the day. Oh no, with me it's always easier when I just like go with whatever happens, if that makes sense. I don't know, but the second I start thinking like, oh, I want to fly or I want to do this or I want to do that, like that's when I find myself like waking up or something because you get, it's almost like you get too excited about the possibility. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. I hear that's actually like that's one of the things that actually can like bring you out of it is that once you realize it, if you give too much attention to that fact, it generally like that excitement wakes you up from what I've read.
Yeah, I've woken up because I've gotten too excited a few times. It's like,
I've
oh my
had that
god, I
happen.
can do whatever I want. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I think it's really
Yes.
interesting because like
That's the
aside
first
from
level,
lucid
I feel.
dreaming, like when you guys are dreaming regularly, can you guys control like generally where the dream goes? Because I know personally, I generally cannot control my dreams. I'm just dreaming, like
Yeah,
when
me
I
too.
do.
I can control it to an extent. Like if I recognize somebody and like I know that person, it's like I'll talk to them or certain things, you know, like that. Uh, but I mean, yes and no, I guess to say.
Yeah, I understand that entirely. Absolutely. Like,
Yeah, that's what really makes me like a little amazed. Is like what's funny is that a lot of people, the way how we act in the real world is also how we act in the dream world, where it's almost like as though, oh, if I were to like, for example, if I'm a soldier, for example, I had to supposed to kill someone or snipe someone, then in the dream I'm gonna have to snipe someone. Which happens when I was lucid dreaming about my past life experiences that I did, yeah, like I did happen to run into a battlefield and had to kill someone for a
See,
life.
I've never had to kill anyone in one of my dreams.
I
oh,
think
I've
I've
been killed
been,
times.
I think I've been a fighter or two in my dreams. I've never killed any,
I
but
grew up.
that even, my bad, go ahead.
What I was to say is, I had for years. I had dreams of being shot in the head, and I would wake up and feel the sting and the burn of where I got shot. It was
Oh,
all
really?
absolutely.
Yeesh.
This went on for almost a fucking decade, and it was always people that I knew that I was close to, and it was just like a casual thing, like you know what I mean. All of a sudden, bam, and then let's say what
I
4 years ago, I had one of those dreams, and the dude pulled the trigger, and a fucking bang sign came out, and that was the end of it. I haven't had one since. Absolutely insane. I don't understand it.
Like, where did he shot you? Like, is it into the forehead or is he shot
Always,
you?
it's always in the side or back of the head.
Oh, jeez. Then that's a death blow right there. No wonder why it sounds like.
Fire. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. It does feel like fire because think about it. You have a bullet in your head.
But yeah, I mean, it's not. It's bizarre. It's almost like an electrical nerve. I don't know. It's weird.
there's a song that goes,
I know, right?
"What strikes the helmet's head?"
Guys, like, here's the thing. Like, here's what I found out is that when who in here ever like researched mirror neurons in their neuroscience
Yeah.
class?
Psych minor over here.
Because the thing is that when you experience something that you yourself in the lucid dream or somebody in there, you all of a sudden like feel the same way, and that sensation follows you.
Yeah, like it basically transmit what happens into the body, and I think that's what pulls you out of the dream. Like I remember when I was a little kid, I used to have like when I lived in this apartment, like there was this dream I'd have a lot, and I was like, I remember like being upstairs, like in this room, and I would just like hide there. Then like I knew something would be coming, and then like every time it would be like this person, they'd like barge the door open, come at me with a sword, and I'd like see it flash at me, and then that'd be like the last thing I remember, just like waking up in fear. But I feel like that's just it's like the brain's way of like, it just like when something really intense happens, it just like sends the like defense signals to the body, and that like causes your body to like almost like pull you out of your dream and back into your body, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
I
Wow.
was gonna say, actually, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this girl I dated one time, she lived like all the way, over in like Oklahoma. So it was this like long distance thing, but our whole our whole concept of the relationship, because we couldn't drive back and forth to Oklahoma, so is like our whole relationship was pretty much based on astral travel and lucid dreaming. And we would see each other in the dreams, and that's where we would like connect. That and talking on the phone, but talking on the phone so much, and then she's in the dream.
I don't know if this really qualifies as a dream, but has anyone ever got? I know I used to get it, and honestly, it's kind of weird because now thinking back, I only used to get it in school, but I would always be like riding a bike, and it's usually when I like right when I would nod
Yes.
off, and I'd be riding a
I
bike,
remember.
and then like the sidewalk would end, and right before I hit the ground, like I'd wake up, and it'd always be like an impact because I'd always jump, like it'd always be like a startle. Has anyone ever
Oh
had?
yeah, and I do that in school all the time too. But except mine's like I'm falling off a cliff,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
and I like jerk
Oh,
so
that's
hard.
actually
I
funny.
like jerk
Yeah,
so
no,
hard.
I'd always like jump up, and everyone would be looking at me, and I'd be like,
It's like
sorry.
I don't know how to explain what just
No,
happened.
you'd be kind of like really tired. You might be sitting at your desk or something. You'd be really tired, and you just doze off. Like I don't know. I'd be walking or something, and I'd trip over some steps or something, and just jerk back. Like
Yeah.
yeah, exactly what you're talking.
That happens with me too. It's like you'll be sitting there just like falling asleep on your hand or something, and then it's like in your little quick little dream or whatever. It's like with me, it's always whenever I fall or like lose my balance. Then
Yeah.
like that's when you just like. But
But
yeah,
I always think it's really funny because those are always usually for me really short. Sometimes it happens in succession only because I fall like right because I'm tired usually and I fall right back asleep or nod right back off. But those are pretty lucid every time. Now that I think about it, like I'm always like right there. There's no work involved. Like I'm riding a bike, like or what have you.
Yeah,
But
and
they
you
are
just
pretty
like
lucid.
it's like an uncomfortable feeling, and then when you wake up, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know about you guys, but like, here's something really, really obnoxiously funny that I personally read this time on this Discovery Channel about this one particular genius that I read on TV. Is that there's this one guy, he's a mathematician. He said that he couldn't solve this complex problem because it hasn't been solved for 100 years already.
Dr.
And so,
Man.
yeah, it's like as though he just can't figure it out, but somehow the day that he was sleeping, he was lucid dreaming that he was solving the problem. So in his dreams, he was solving the problem, and in reality, he was also sleepwalking while solving the problem. And somehow, when he woke up from his sleep, he went to the billboard and found out, oh my god, who the heck just solved the problem?
Yeah, I've heard of. Have you heard about the experiments that they've done where they've segregated a portion of a population and they give them the crossword puzzles and they judge all the results for a certain amount of time, and then if there was been solved the day before, like they give them a different one, and all of a sudden their scores go dramatically up. The rise in their capacity to solve that particular crossword puzzle, their success rate is drastically increased. So it's almost as if the collective there's a collective knowledge base that we're literally all drawing from unconsciously, even, but kind of strange.
And Windows errors.
That was not me.
Like, that is, yeah, that's what makes me really have to admit, like, when it comes to like lucid dreaming and all those so-called subconscious studies made by Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, I had to ask myself, what is really intelligence? I mean, like, what is intelligence? I'm not joking. Because, like, somehow these people who have more access to their subconscious mind, they somehow know.
Yeah, because the subconscious mind holds all the answers. It's like the microcosm of the universe.
Yeah, it's almost like as though, like, how do you call it?
It's like
There's
the
this-
microcosm.
No. It's something else in psychology. They said that there's a myth where you only use 5% of your brain. The other 95% you don't know where to use it. So that's
Yeah, yeah.
it's almost like as though, okay, I know that we think 5%. That's true. But like, what's the other 95%? Could it be the subconscious mind?
Yeah, but I mean, it's that it's the junk DNA. It's you know, they claim that 97% or so of the DNA we have is junk DNA. They call it junk DNA.
Do you thought,
I think the whole like we only use 90-something percent or whatever is just kind of like, I don't know, like the media's way of telling us like we can only use this much of our brain, so don't even bother
No,
thinking.
no,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
like
Well,
people say these are people trying to defend science. People trying to defend science.
isn't it
You know,
more?
think they know what they're talking.
Isn't it more of a
But
potential?
they no, well, like what they say is that we're already using 100% of our brain,
right, but then they say that we only
and I think that's crazy.
I know.
But
I think
yeah,
that's
what
crazy.
Yeah, but
as far as like
yeah,
the
but from what
as
If
far as
people
like
can, no, go ahead, bro.
okay, as far as like the subconscious mind though, I think the difference is just that like the subconscious mind is more connected to source, if that makes sense. Whereas
Yeah.
like the conscious mind is like one that works is like to me like the conscious mind works as more of a filter where you can choose to like accept or reject whatever image you see. Whereas like the subconscious mind, it doesn't really choose, like it just accepts everything unless the conscious mind has already like programmed it to not, like, I don't know, like if you listen to those people like, ooh, train your subconscious mind, like it's more just like, I don't know, like you can get it to follow certain guidelines for the most part, but it mainly just accepts whatever it sees, so it's more up to the conscious mind to like accept or reject everything. So like, I don't know, to me, like if you don't practice like becoming too lucid at your dreams, you're more susceptible to whatever happens while you're in the dream world. Whereas if like the more you get better at implementing your conscious mind into the dream world, that's when you're able to like avoid certain things or like have more input on like what you want to do or where the dream goes or whatever, versus just whatever entity like thing comes along and just like fucks with you or plays with you or whatever. Like, I don't know, like I remember having one dream once where it was like there was some kind of like energy I don't know why, but I was like really mad at it, and I just started like punching it and like just trying to like beat it up, and I was like throwing Muay Thai knees and everything, but like it was just a pointless waste of energy. And like what I realized when I woke up is like it just straight drained my energy, and that was its way of getting me to exert all my energy and give it to it. If that makes sense.
wow.
But if I would have been able to like realize what was going on, like I probably would have just like told it to go away or went somewhere else. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a really weird thing. But
Because the thing is that the existence of those entities usually have like a meaning in some parts of our or aspects of our life that actually threatens us in some way or the other. You know.
I mean, I remember when I used to work at that massage place, and like I
oh.
like like those people drove me crazy. So like I had this dream. One of these dreams, I had like consecutive dreams, but and this usually happens when you're not addressing something that like you to address. And so what happened is I'd be riding this bike, and there'd be all these people in this like in the astral world, like wanted me to go to like this church or something, or wanted me to go to this church, and I'm like pedaling away on this bike, and I'm like, nah, you know, like I don't want to be here. So I'm like pedaling in the bike, and I've got like this mob of people from the church like running after me, and I'm like pedaling away on my bike, like, you know, catch me if you can, you know. But
Wow.
it's interesting because you know, I have heard that's one of the things you'll see in the astral world is just a bunch of people like praying in certain things because they had a certain belief on Earth that things were to be this way, and they weren't necessarily this way, so they're kind of just stuck at a church in the astral world.
Oh yeah. In fact, that's a lot over here. I know of is like people always searching that something.
And those in some sense actually can need rescuing in that sense because they're just sitting there, and if they don't do something, they may have to like incarnate into a body or something or get pulled down because they're just sitting there. Now I've heard like you can build a house in like the astral world and something, but it's really from what I've seen, it's really a lot like you know, Never Land.
Neverland. It's almost like as though everything is all real, you know. Like at first, oh, this is a dream world, and then when you go to the dream world and they say this is the real world, and it's like I was like, so which one is which one is the real world? Is this it, the real world, or
Ooh.
is this the real world?
Well, remember, you know, what was that song? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. So, I mean, it does hold some truth.
The Bill Hicks. Have you heard that Bill Hicks excerpt about life being a ride? Anybody here?
I'm not sure.
No, I don't think I have.
Look it up on YouTube real quick. It's a really short clip, and they've got one that's just look Bill Hicks, The Ride, or something like that, and it'll pull it up. It's awesome.
No, that's cool. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that fear holds you back from lucid dreaming? Because like what Drew was talking about, like these almost like entities or maybe like you know, energy sucking things that might come to you in your dream, does that scare you? Does it scare you away from lucid dreaming, or how do you does that happen to anybody else? Or
Oh yeah.
In one of the books I read by Carlos Castaneda, The Art of Dreaming, it was actually talking about that, where he says something along the lines that like as humans, fear is one of our greatest defenses, and like because like essentially because that's like gets you out of the dream world just like that when you feel you really need to. So like the more you become, I don't know, like if you I don't know, you basically have to be like a little bit cautious in your dreams. Like, oh no, you don't want to be overcautious, I guess, because like the way I look at the dream world and how everything works, it's just like this world where we create our own reality, you know. But I feel like on there it's even more so because it's less physical reality and it's more in the thought slash emotion realm. So like, so I don't know. So basically, like fear, like I don't know, just be cautious, but not like overly cautious, because then you won't be able to enjoy your dreams and or like even have nice ones. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
well, oh, sorry, finish. I didn't mean to cut you off.
you're good. I'm just trying to remember what I was gonna say. It was more. I was talking about fear is like one of our greatest defenses, and then
Oh,
like
there's
I don't know, it's just like our built-in defense mechanism. But as you can learn to not rely on it, you can find other methods of like defending yourself, I guess. Like hard to say, like because there's so many different like areas and realms and like different places to go. And it's like I don't know, like in the book it talks about like the different types of realms there are and everything, and like I don't know, like certain people are more drawn to different areas and whatnot, and like I don't know, it's hard to
yeah,
say, but
yeah, man. I've went to like there's places you'll find in the dream world, but this place I found like reoccurring. I think I said this on one of the shows. I went to this place that's like the hood in the dream world, and like sucks, you know. But for some reason, I just tend to like keep going to this place. It's like this place is just like there's everything you can kind of think of. Like I don't know, it looks like New York and during like the crack era or something, you know. But the thing is, this world like exists, and for some reason, I keep going there. I mean, it's not the first time that I've seen this place, and there's just like, you know, drug dealers and just all sorts of just people just like there, but I don't know. I wouldn't know what to call this world. I mean, I don't know, the underworld, or I don't know what you would call it. But I've been there, and yeah, like I mean, you'll meet people there. You'll come across some spirits, and some spirits like they'll just tell you anything you want to hear. You know, so you kind of have to discern. You know, but I would say Bonnie is there. Once upon a time, you know, I was scared, but I'm Peter Pan, you know, so I'm like,
Yeah,
not gonna keep me out of that world.
yeah.
I've
I
already
spent a lot of
uh,
time
I've
being
already
scared of lucid
No, go
dreaming.
ahead, Drew.
If I were to give you like a piece of advice, if you find yourself back in that place, just like don't like I don't know. Basically, like the way shit works in like more of the dream realms is like the only way something can happen or whatever is if you agree to it. If that makes sense. Like you were saying, how like they'll tell you whatever you want to hear, basically. Like usually it's because they're trying to like pull you into that world. If that makes sense. So the second
Yeah.
you agree to stay there or whatever they tell, like, or they'll be like, oh, I'll tell you this and that, and like I forget what it is. It's there's this certain area where like you're talking, like I forget where it is, but you get to this certain area and it's like everything you hear is like truth essentially, and they can't lie to you. But the only way they can like talk you into something is to get you to agree to it. If that makes sense. So just like oh
Yeah.
no, don't agree to anything you don't want to do, basically. But
I've yeah. I
oh
mean,
yeah, I remembered what I was gonna say earlier too. It was that like when I was explaining the dream where I was like fighting whatever and it was just like a tireless waste of energy, is that is saying that like a lot of these other beings, like if you look at the way we get energy from the sun, because we'll like gather around the sun or whatever, that's essentially the way they're able to get energy from us. It's not that they're like trying to like leech us or drain us or whatever. It's just like some of them like look at us as like if you look at the fact that like our bodies, like all our energy comes straight from the sun, and like when you look at our more ethereal body, we're probably charged with a lot of that energy. So like they look at us as like suns basically. You get what I mean? So like
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't know, it's hard. I don't know, just came
Well,
back
exactly.
into
Here's
my mind real quick.
what scientifically what Drew is basically saying is like first you have the ego right here. That's what in Sigmund Freud talk about is that yeah, this is the ego. Underneath that is what we call the superego, and that superego is what he's talking about, the sun or the God consciousness. It's from there that leads us, that manifests things into being.
Oh wow, you turned your mic up, bro.
Yeah, I know. Because the thing is like this. When you start agreeing to something, when that so-called emotions comes to you, does it relate to you personally? Because that's what causes those beings to come and comes in and arise, or they just fall out. Is because they're feeding off of your emotion. That's what gives the super ego its existence, like the sun. From there, it feeds on you. So the best way is to take it out, take your emotions out of it.
I have seen, yeah, I have seen. There are things, man. When I was dating this girl, man, actually, it was just crazy because like there's these things that I've seen in the astral world that if anybody's watched Harry Potter, the Prisoner of Azkaban, when they talk about those Dementor things, those things actually, I don't know where J.K. Rowling got it from, but those things, I have seen those things in the astral world. And, you know, people would say, like, it's called sleep paralysis and certain things like that, but what I noticed these things is whenever they used to touch me, like I would like be paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything.
Oh
You know.
wow. So like, is that like an
But I've also
intelligence?
found other ways to repel them. You know, you actually do like expecto patrollo on them, and actually repel. I mean, you can create your own type of stuff. You know, I mean, you don't really have to. I mean, anytime that I find myself in a situation like that, I could always, anytime I called on the angels, they were gone, you know.
Yeah, that's really what helped me break through the fear.
Yeah, so that's one of the things,
Ah,
oh wow. That's one of the things that, like, you can call on them, but it comes to a point where you're just, like, confident enough in that own world and, you know, try to avoid, you know, the succubuses and things like that. But there's, like, you can meet up, you know, you can meet up with, you know, I mean, as far as those Dementor things, I found out because the girl that I dated before, she was a curious little girl, and she wanted to play with the Ouija board, and she didn't know what she was doing, and didn't know, you know, how to protect herself or anything like that. And she kind of opened up a door. So by me sleeping with her is actually what, like, it's like when you merge with other. It's like you merge with a person's aura. Their aura comes kind of like synced in with like your aura, and then so those things ain't come from me, but me just being with her. That's how those things found me. It's
Oh
her own
wow,
problem.
wow. Well, that does sound like what we call the law of attraction right there. It's
Have
almost
you
like it's
ever
you.
been to like?
Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Andy.
Go ahead, Drew. Go
Oh,
ahead, Drew.
I
I'll
was
take
just
it.
Good, Drew.
gonna ask I was gonna ask Michael if you've been to like the angelic realms in your dream before.
I think so. I think because like my idea of heaven was like fluffy clouds, and so I mean I've been to places with fluffy clouds before.
Mm,
Wow.
I think
I guess
mean
like I don't know, 'cause
is there a collective, or is it kind of your own idea of like what the angelic realms would be?
I think it's a definite place. Like it's just like I don't know. It's just getting there sometimes can be a bit more difficult than others. But I think if you focus enough on it, you'll be able to like just go right up there versus wherever you are. I don't know. It's just I've been there a couple times in my dreams. It's just I'm not the greatest like dreamer practitioner. So like I'm not the best at being lucid and all that shit. But like
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times. Like it's just I remember like a lot of clouds and shit too.
Yeah,
But,
see,
like,
yeah, that's
it's
exactly.
just I don't know. You'll know you're there. You'll know you're there because like it'll just feel so like like it'll just feel like refreshing and
Yeah,
shit.
man.
Like you'll just feel like peace,
The way
serenity, like safety.
is,
Like
yeah.
it just
Yeah,
feels good.
exactly.
I don't know if any of you guys used to watch The Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh,
Um,
oh, you picked on the right person here.
but
Because I personally don't even like that show.
but okay, but like that place that they go, like it's called like Fairy World or Fairyland, and like there's like all these clouds and certain things, and there's like this castle and this kingdom and this huge fairy Arnold Schwarzenegger guy that like pops out. That's how it wasn't like the Fairly Odd Parents, but the way like the clouds were and everything were. That's how it was for me.
You know, that's what
Yeah.
got me really interesting about lucid dreaming. Like, for example, the way how we adults deal with lucid dreaming. We tend to like, oh, our dreams are like, I don't know how many of you guys like ever have like more realistic dreams where, oh, this it does look like heaven, and oh, this does look like the real events that I happen to have. Versus like when we were young children, somehow like I don't know if you guys like have like experience when you were children, but like some of us have like experience where the dreams almost represents who we are at that particular age. Like I
Yeah,
wonder,
I mean,
does age or human development has anything to do with how we lucid dream? Like for example, I heard that, for example, when we were working with children, I work with children, is that they have that ability to be able to sense that unity in them. Everything is just unified. Nothing is separate from it from themselves.
I mean, when I was little, I used to think God was like a man, like Aslan or somebody.
Aslan,
You know, so
oh,
but that was the
I would say
concept
that
of it when I was little. So
like what do you guys think about it?
I would
I'll be
say
right back real quick.
yeah, I would say like the biggest difference in like when we were kids as compared to adults is like when we were kids we're more like straight out, we're more fresh out of the dream realm, spirit world, whatever you want to call it. We're more fresh out of there, so we're like it's easier. Like I don't know, with me I know like lucid dreaming and all that was like it just happened when you were young. Like you
yes,
didn't even have to think about it, like it just happened all the time, and it was something you thought was normal. And it was only until you got older that you were like, oh wait, this doesn't happen to other people. Like, oh what? This is
Yeah.
lucid dreaming? What's that? And it was just like,
Didn't-
oh, I used to have those all the time when I was a kid. But I think the difference is just that as we're children, like we're more just straight out of that world to begin with. Like that's probably where we came from before we incarnated into like our physical, like biological bodies. Like so, like as we get older, we go through like the whole like programming, like this is the real world, this, that, and like we slowly become like out of touch with those senses.
Yeah.
And unless you take notice of it and like keep just like doing what you were doing as a kid and go back to that, or just practice like dreaming in general
like
and just
what I
like getting in touch with that side, like it just comes back naturally, and it's not nothing that's really too hard. Like whereas like if you stay into like the mentality of like, oh, this is the real world, blah blah blah, this that, or whatever you want to call it, just like growing up, I guess, like then like you slowly lose that, and that's when it becomes like, oh, lucid dreaming, oh, I wish I could, like, you know what I mean? I don't know, like,
Yeah,
I guess
because
that's what I
kids don't really second guess themselves, you know.
Yeah, that's what makes me really notice about like how kids, how they interpret God in the Bible. It's like they see him as like this old bearded man who sits in sits in the seat of heaven, judging people. It's almost like that common
We know that's
mentality that even I personally have.
We know that's a programming, though. Nobody's sitting around with a pad like every time somebody like misses the piss on the toilet seat. You know what I mean? Nobody's sitting like judging that person.
I think a lot of people may need to be told that. No, I'm like, I'm really, I'm being like as funny and facetious as it probably sounds like I'm being completely serious. Like I think a lot of people need to be told that God is not like an Americanized version of Zeus sitting on a throne in the clouds.
I
with,
know,
like, a
right?
notepad. I think a
every
lot of people
time.
need to be told that.
No, exactly. Like every time, whenever I read this biblical God, I always think of Zeus. I just don't know what's going on in my head.
That's a total programming mechanism, because I think we all, like, everyone has that generalized vision, combined with everything else they've seen in their own interpretation. But the old man sitting on the chair, like, I've always just been taught an Americanized version of Zeus, pretty much. This old guy on a chair. Yeah. That's a strict program. Now, mind you, I take no liability if you want to be the one to tell everyone that, because I know some people are really going to freak out, and they're really not going to want to hear that, but, yeah.
No, we know that's true. We know that's true.
Sherman, seriously, like, what you said, like, it doesn't
Zeus
really
was
matter
cool,
up to this point.
In the Disney movies, though.
And really, does it really?
I would say, like,
yeah, like, seriously, like, when we're talking about lucid dreaming and all those programming stuff, does it really matter up to this point that that what people have to think? Because seriously, 95 souls are still watching this show right now.
True.
So, what's the odds of having a person who's gonna disagree with you?
But I mean, that's true. I mean,
people are going. I mean, it really just depends.
Drew, you were gonna say something a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that like going back to like what you were saying about how like we're like when we're growing up we're like taught that there's like this big man in the skies and he like watches over everything we do. Like, see, like I would say like I definitely agree with you on like you do kind of need to tell people like that's not exactly how it is. Like, see, because like me, I was like raised really LDS and everything. So like I remember growing up as a kid, like when I would think of like what is God, and like you have this like general picture of this dude just sitting up in the clouds and he just like judges and like watches every single thing, breathing, living action that you do. And it's just like I remember as a kid, I was just like I don't
But
know. That
Santa
just
Claus,
seems
same
kind of
thing.
cheesy. Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't doubt that there may be some dude that sits up there. I just don't like. I just wouldn't call him like the god, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You get what I
Yeah,
mean?
that
He
makes
could be
sense.
some. There could be some entity up
Yeah.
there who's like this heavenly angelic type dude, but it's not that he like sits there, watches, judges every single living, breathing thing you do, and like just like
I
Zeus
think that's
basically, like he's waiting to cast thunderbolts down at you if you fuck up. Like I think it's more just like
I think
there are
well,
different, like hierarchies, different whatever's up there, but it's not the way that we're taught through like church and school and like the American way. Basically, it's more of a just I don't know. It's more
It
open, I
sounds.
guess. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not
Like,
joking. Like, yeah, what you're talking about, Drew, is like that concept of God is like a. It's almost like a capital punishment.
No, it's all a shame game. Like generalized, organized religion. I can only speak for Christianity, but a lot of it is run off of fear and shame. And I
I
mean, like,
know.
it just doesn't. It does for me.
Exactly.
It doesn't work. You know what I mean? Because you're being told one thing. You're being told this is God. He loves you, and then you're given all of these examples where if you don't do exactly what you're supposed to do, not only are you going to be punished, but you're going to be made to suffer eternally in a pit of burning sulfur. Like that, I don't know. Like that just doesn't add up for me. So there's a lot of like fear and shame. But then again, that in essence is quite literally, is that not a control mechanism? You know what I mean? To get whether it be religion or whoever is giving you that, doctrine or telling you this is the way it is to be, may just be accepting it because it was
So I
presented to
think
them as such. You know what I mean? And they're
what
just
I
giving
was
it to you because that's what they know. But yeah,
I don't
go
know.
ahead.
I know you guys have
yeah,
seen Thor. Have you guys seen Thor?
Oh, Thor? You mean like
yes.
the Norse god of
Okay, so
thunder,
you
right?
know, yeah, how there's like that really like buff guy with damn, I forgot him and Thor, and he's just kind of like watching over thing. I think like the guys, the ancestors, and the angels and certain things. I think they're watching, like they call like the Watchers. I think they watch and just make sure that everything is flowing at the way as like there's no force trying to go against universal law in that sense because there needs to be universal law. Everything needs the design was perfect, and I think that is the only thing that any and they're not they wouldn't be judging. They're just making sure that they're
Balance.
just kind of like the watch. Yeah, the watchtower, of the higher realms. So I think that, in that sense, I don't think there's anybody, old man sitting on the chair, you know, um, saying you've been like a naughty this year or anything. I really don't think.
Yeah, I mean, like, when did that concept just got into our children's head? And, seriously, like, of course, we taught that this god is this benevolent spirit. Yeah, but then later on, somehow something went wrong. We somehow
But
added
I
the Ten
think
Commandments, and that.
we try to make it look humanized, and I think that's the thing that we don't understand is because we're human, we think that the beings in the higher realms are gonna have the same the same ego, the same type of thinking as us when
Exactly.
Anthropomorphizing.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, and
So
I found this also
and they're
true.
not like
When,
that.
yeah, it's almost like as though how we did it, like with some of the things that we don't fully understand, and then we just project it onto something that we don't understand, like dreams. I mean, like those beings don't have to be that way. Just let them speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. There, One dream I had in particular, what I was telling you about, as far as lucid dreams. This is one dream in particular that I was, when I say I was trying to escape them, I wake up into them. I wake up, let's say, what brought me into the lucid state in this particular dream was, I woke up, I walked out onto the patio, and I sat down at the table, but the light, the sunlight, it went from night to dark and night to dark in succession a few times really quickly, and that was when I knew that I was dreaming. And then I saw my girlfriend at the time. We had a pretty bad relationship. She was self-destructive, really
Oh,
self-destructive.
wow.
And I witnessed her banging her head on a metal gate, and there was nothing I could do to stop her, right? And so, I wanted to wake up from that dream. I figured I'd gotten the message, right? I wake up into the same thing. I walk back out on the patio, and this time the TV's on, and there's this message that comes. It's a recipe or some shit. I don't know what exactly it was. It was something that needed to be combined. It was a list of some sort. And in my desperation to find a pen, I woke up. And then I woke up into the next dream. I get up, and this time I grab a pen, and then the words on the fucking screen are, they're running too fast for me to write down. It's just. I don't really. It was bizarre. What I took away from that dream was the center part was with my girlfriend self-destructive, something I can do to help her. So
Oh, gee.
But you wanted to help her though.
Right. But there was, I took away was absolutely nothing that I could do, no matter how hard I tried. She had to do it for herself.
Oh yeah, everybody has a free will. That's the
Well, that's another thing. Free will versus determinism. I think there is a little bit of determinism going on, but I think we have room for choice too.
Yeah, in fact, I think
Yeah.
in terms of determinism and choices, I think it's like we do have a choice, but however, we just don't have we just can't escape from what the results that we create from that choice.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying like the universal law. This is one that is just it has to be in order because like the angels and other things can't interfere unless you ask. That's why all these so many people like wonder like why isn't so and so listening to me and stuff like that and letting stuff just happen because they have free. Everyone has every being. Every human being has free will, and that is like one of the most prominent laws of the universe. Is that every being has free.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like
I would say that like when you look at like destiny or whatever you want to call it versus free will, they're both essentially the same thing. It's just how you choose to look at it. Like free will is a choice basically to have free will versus destiny. Like if you decide to just be like, well, I'm destined for this, and that, and that's the way it's gonna be. Like that's still your choice, but it's your choice to give up your free will and just go by whatever happens. If that makes sense. And then
does.
what was I gonna say earlier? I forget there was something earlier that I wanted to touch on.
They show that in the movie when dreams may come.
Oh, I remember. It was when we were talking about like the thing with God and everything, and like basically like I feel like religion at first was just like people's way who understood like the higher realms and like who were able to see all these things. It was like their way of putting it into a story for other people who can't experience it themselves to have a chance to understand it a bit, and then like so that way they could at least explain to them some of the universal truths / laws, whatever you want to call them, and then like give them a moral guidance. And then like as we got to where we are today, it's turned into more of a like control mechanism.
It's like
But,
I agree with that.
It's more like a government control scheme.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Has anyone ever had the perception that the reason that we seemingly can't change shit in this world is because we're not supposed to be able to?
Well, that's because like
Yeah,
we were.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
about you
Because
guys, but
I
this is
don't
how
like,
we were taught.
I
Like,
don't mean that it's been structured by these individuals in such a manner that we have no capacity to affect it. I mean that
yeah,
this,
exactly.
yeah, this is actually training, for instance, is a cheap way to put it, but it's
yeah, yeah. I
you
agree.
grow up in a system and you learn exactly how not to exist.
Yeah, it's like let me see here. Now here's the thing. When I first learned about ancient Greek, is that of course I don't know if you guys ever heard about this, or am I
Ancient
just
Greece.
being delusional, or is this part of the dream? But like, some people can be able to hear voices,
Uh-huh.
and which people today we diagnose them with schizophrenia. I mean, like, seriously, like they're just hearing voices. But what part of hearing voices
Well,
do they feel like it's like?
didn't Abraham hear a voice to like
Oh yeah,
destroy his son or something?
yeah. Abraham hears from the sky above saying, "Destroy his own son Isaac."
Yeah, and he spared him at the altar. Yeah.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, the voice say, "Don't kill your son." I mean, if you kill your son, just do it already.
No, 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 no.
Just end the
That's the
story.
insanity. That's the insanity. That's what I'm saying. You don't. That is a trickster. That see, a trickster isn't even evil like that. I mean, that's just evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, if if that is what your voice truly is saying, just do it already. Just end the
No, no, no,
story.
no, 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 no.
Well,
Wait. I
well,
think.
here's the thing though.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead, Drew.
I personally hear voices here and there a lot too. It's just like I don't know. I don't usually like talking about it a lot because I don't like I don't want to have people try to like diagnose me with shit. But like what I've noticed is like when I hear them, when I hear them the
Diagnosis.
most is like when I'm like it's usually when I'm about to doze off and shit. But like some of it, a lot of what I feel it has to do with is just like recognizing your own thoughts from separate thoughts or entities or whatever. Because like I don't know,
Yeah.
like the more you work on meditation, the more you're able to watch thoughts like literally fly by. Like if you look at the ways in Zen, like you have the monkey mind where it just grabs the thought to thought to thought and just keeps swinging on the tree. And then like once you essentially like learn to go without mind and like block the thoughts and stop thoughts from coming, that's when you're able to like more recognize which thoughts are your own, which thoughts were from an outside source that you interpreted as your own. And then like so like
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know, a lot of
Yeah.
it is like especially if you get into like channeling and shit, like that's when you can be like hearing all sorts of shit all the time, you know.
No,
But like it's
that's
just
when you're
I don't know,
channeling.
it's just that thoughts are everywhere. Like it's just a matter of like being able to tell which ones are yours, which ones are somebody trying to like manipulate you. Like all this, like it's just I don't know.
It's like
I would say that and like even in that book I was talking about earlier in the Art of Dreaming, like I forget, I think they called it the emissary voice or something like that. And it's like when you get into the dream world and like you can hear this one voice, and it's supposedly, I forget, it's something they call it like something like the emissary voice, and it basically like I forget, it'll never tell you a lie or something like that, but like everyone has their own interpretation on what it sounds like or something like that. It's hard to explain. I forget. It's been a minute since I read the book too.
yeah, it's almost like
But
here's the funny thing that I still remember is that when I had this one person who I came to visit with. This person happens to be my mom's friend. Is that this? She always told me or my family that somebody's about to hunt her down. Somebody's in her house, is spraying all sorts of cologne on her house, and then like almost tries to kill her or spying on her. And then I was like, okay, well, what about it? And then she's like, she's so fearful. I can tell. But then, what can I do? And then she somehow told that we're gonna move, and then next thing you know, like although she still does hear voices and all stuff, and I just don't know how in the world is she like perceiving the real thing, or is she just really just like being real or just not being real here?
There's, I mean, there's like ways to discern. Like this is one of the things that like I've come across on my journey that has really helped me. Basically, you just discern and you hear with your heart. So you let your heart be the discerner. So when you hear some information, you're wondering, how can I tell, is this truthful or is this just bullshit? What you do is you ask yourself, is this coming from a place of love or is this coming from a place of fear? And when it comes from a place of fear, it's that really like, it's really like, you know, like this cold, like creepy voice that it comes with fear. But when it comes from a place of love, that's usually coming from your higher self or your angels or your fairies, gnomes, or your, you know, smurfs or whatever, you know.
Yeah, because the thing is that, for example, like if I were to try to explain what you guys are talking about to, like, for example, an atheist, somebody who doesn't even know anything, they will most likely will be looking at me and say, "Are you kidding me? You're telling me something supernatural, and expect me to believe it." I I get that a lot. Like,
I would say I really like what Michael just said there. Like I had somebody like give me a piece of advice that was like very similar to that. It was more towards the waking world though, and it was just like, I don't know. It was basically like I forget, I was talking about like how when you get too caught up in your mind and shit, and like you can't tell if you want to do something or not. And basically what they told me was like, if your mind wants to do something, as long as your heart agrees with it too, then go ahead and do it. But if your mind's like overthinking it and like you're unsure of what your heart's thinking and your mind's just making it more and more difficult, then you probably don't want to do it. If that makes sense. But as long as the two
yeah, that
agree,
does.
go
Yeah,
Because
that,
basically.
that's a really good point. I'd like to follow that up with a really good piece of advice I got, because for the longest time I sat and really kind of contemplated on, I mean, there are thoughts, but are they not voices in and of themselves? And I mean, I know I hear my thoughts all the time, and they're not necessarily always in my voice, but I know they're my thoughts. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
one really good piece of advice I got a while ago from a friend of mine was, don't believe everything you think. And I had to like just kind of sit back and really, you know, I guess meditate on that one, because I mean, how do you tell someone not to believe everything they think? They're all my thoughts, and or so I thought they were my thoughts, and yeah, it was just a really good piece of advice.
yeah, that does.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean,
In fact, that's personally, I found out that like not listening to your thoughts and just learning how to just like
you
let it
kind of
show
like just
itself.
watch them, kind of like trains or something.
Yeah,
Like,
it's almost like as though you're just watching a movie or a live opera show, and the bad guy turns out to be your own thought. It's just a simple comedic way to just say it, but somehow people took it a little too seriously.
yeah, but I was like the whole thing with the Abraham thing. I think that you can kind of discern in your heart
Yeah,
that
that was
like
that was a
logically,
little that was a little extreme.
rationally, that doesn't sound like coming from any place of love.
Right, exactly. And then next thing you know, like this voice say, "Stop! Do not kill your son." I was like, okay, so
Now, if
what's
you
your
make it
motive?
like a metaphysical instead of a literal interpretation, then, you know, I guess you can get somewhere, you know, with that. But I think anybody just who thinks about that, and if if they don't look at it from a point of like, if they listen with their heart then it's just like obvious. It's just like, you know, that's the crazy thing, because the angels would never tell somebody to do something like that, put their son on all like that.
Yeah,
Angels don't
exactly.
speak like that.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, that's the thing is. But then the point is going back to what we originally try to talk about is wisdom, because so many of us practice spirituality. Like you, Bonnie, I personally can keep seeing your meditation video. Yes, I know. It becomes a cliche. So therefore, I was looking at your video and I was like this.
Were you breathing though?
I was breathing,
That's the
yeah, and then I
important
was like, okay, so what? Like, what's the point of doing it, you know?
part. What's the point? I could tell you all about the point.
Yeah, especially like we were taught that, oh, we're gonna learn how to control our minds. Oh, we're gonna do this. Oh, we're gonna do that. Of course, but what about lucid dreaming? What's the point of doing
Well,
that?
but meditation helps you control your thoughts and keep you grounded. So like
Okay,
you're
Yeah,
getting,
so
but then
along that, if we're gonna dive into that conversation, I feel like I might be like going off the topic of dreams.
yeah, I know, but like the
uh,
thing is going back from what we learn about dreams is that dreams has a purpose, you know? It's like the thing is we were taught that, oh, we're going to seek wisdom through this lucid dream where, oh, we're going to first probe into our minds. We're going to first know what is inside of us, but
hey, hey,
like
hey.
what part of our dreams are we trying to probe to get that wisdom? What is it?
I don't know, but I
I would
did.
say
What?
No, go ahead, Drew.
okay. I would say that in a sense our dreams are more real than the reality we're in right now, or the waking world. It's just that I think like I don't know, I think the whole shift and everything, like there may be a chance for us to like almost bring Earth into the dream realms, into like a higher dimension, whatever you want to call it. Just like another, I think that's where Earth originally was from, but it's been dragged down and become more physical, more dense. Because like if you look at the just like the way vibrations work and shit, like one of the reasons like why the angels will never tell you like, oh, kill this person, do this crazy shit, like this that, is because those are more physical, more denser thought forms, if that makes sense, and they're of
Yeah,
a
that
higher
does.
vibration than
Yes.
that. So it's
Yeah, that does.
Yes.
that won't even resonate. So like basically what I feel like we're going through or could go through, it depends on like what we make of it basically, is that we could essentially bring Earth back up into the dream worlds or higher realms, whatever you want to call them, or we can not, and it wouldn't necessarily be fucking it up, we just stay where we are now and we'd still have this more physical dense reality where you have systems and control, whatever, like more control type systems or religious type systems or whatever, like, but it's essentially up to us to like access our free will and like choose to go to the higher vibrations and like live there basically. And like dreams is, to me, is just more of where we were originally from, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, versus where we are now. That's why I've always considered this is more of a dream than our dreams, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly. In fact,
Yeah.
yeah, because think about it. When
No,
you
I
talked
resonate
about
with that, man.
yeah, when you talked about emotions, it does, however, has a big effect on how we going to ascend towards this. Okay, I like when you Drew, you said that when bad emotions take control of you, it's almost like as though it drags you down like a weight, like a 2-ton weight. But
Yep.
with that positive uplift, that's the reason why positivity uplifts you. It's because it's by itself uplifting. It's a positive thing. It makes you think of something higher. You feel like everything underneath you has been satisfied, you know?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Derek. I just got just from that. Well, you said earlier about the higher planes and everything. It feels like I went lucid dream about 3 times, but each two of them I was able to fly. And when I can feel I remember how I did it. And I feel so real. And when I wake up from these lucid dreams, I try to do it in real life. So I feel like I can actually do it, and I can make that sensation like I did in the lucid dream where I flew around. And I close my eyes, I focus. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm trying to go up in the air, but it's something more than that. And I can't go because gravity's keeping me down. And then I realize it's my soul is trying to move, but my body's, keeping it held in.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like from what I read about some of the things that you guys were talking about, and like this is from my understanding of chakras, is that when it's almost like as though when you feel threatened, like for example, you drew, like for example, if someone were to hit you or to threaten you to the point where you like, oh, I need to kill this person, otherwise this person will kill me. That's like you're actually cutting down the bottom of the pyramid that you are creating for yourself. It's the foundation because it's the root chakra. It's that foundation that was shaking, and once that foundation shakes, the whole thing falls. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how like hell.
Agreed.
That's how I feel. I feel like hell sounds like that more than an actual place. Because the thing is
Absolutely.
psychologically, that's what it is. It's the threatening of the root chakra. Your survival is threatened.
Well, when you watch What Dreams May Come, they explain that like he draws this painting. He draws this painting, and like he's like he draws this painting, and then this painting is basically like his idea of heaven, and then like when he dies, he goes to that picture basically, like what he drew.
Are you talking about Dante's Inferno?
Place he painted.
In that movie, his wife was the artist, wasn't she?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't know about you guys, but does Dante's Inferno has anything to do with this? Because what you're describing does sound like that, where this man he describes hell as like 8 to 9 different rings. It represents some kind of esoteric symbols of our the devastation of our, like for example, our
Yeah.
existence. You know.
In Dante's Inferno, the first ring was like the ring to the gateway to hell. There's a ring for gluttony, ring for ring for lust. There was a ring for greed. There's a ring for about every type of sin you can think of, like the 7 deadly sins, I think, whatever they're called. But especially like in the video games, it makes hell like this, hugely gruesome, slaughtering place for souls. When I picture hell, I picture it as a place you go, and you're like very depressed all the time, and it's not like you're being tortured all the time. Like you're like a really depressing zone, and like it's not wow.
Yeah, that's what happened with Dreams May Come, and because the wife was like in a really depressed state before she passed. She went in this was like there's tarantulas everywhere, and the house was like broken. It was like a crack house home or something. I don't think there was any crack involved, but I think like the house just looked like nobody lived there. Yeah, it was like crumbling.
Abandoned, or what do they call that? When they shut it down and nailed it?
Condemned.
Condemned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that does remind me
The
of
house was like falling apart and stuff.
Whoa, really? Yeah, because the thing is, that's what like whenever I read Dante's Inferno, it describes just like what you were talking about. It's like the hell over there is like smoking, and it really cracked up, and ugh.
Yeah,
Like-
but it represents a mental state. See, when
I
people
know.
have all these near-death experiences, and they're like, "Oh, I saw a fire-breathing dragon," stuff like that, you know, and it's just
Yeah,
like
that's what really
that,
got me
that's what
really,
they're
and
scared of,
that's what really got me really interesting. Got interesting here is like, oh, this emotion you have right here, but then somehow like when you subconsciously like don't filter these emotions, somehow it comes back to you in forms of taste, touch, smell, emotions, even visualizations. It can become a fearful nightmare. Like, I mean, how do we confront these stuff? It's
Andy,
ridiculous.
Andy, what you said earlier about the root. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. About the root chakra. I've been in a position, unfortunately, where I was in fear for my life for very good reason, and it was a direct threat. There's several people involved,
What
and
the?
and and I noticed a domino effect directly thereafter. Everything began to collapse, and it was insane. And I actually it was a Halloween party, and I live close, like right next door to Austin. So it was 6th Street. It was down on 6th Street. It's a party place, right? And I'm down there drinking, with my buddy, and this apparently uh, speech deaf guy. I guess is what deaf is what you call it. Had his pad, and he came straight up to me and just handed me the pad, and I wrote down on it. I asked him point blank. I said, "Is this heaven, hell, or both?" And he wrote down, "We're waiting for you," whatever the fuck that meant, right? But
Oh.
what I was getting at was, well, is this heaven, hell, or both? Literally.
Well, you know what's funny about like my latest lucid dream? It was incredibly scary because before I became lucid, it was a nightmare. Like in my dream, there was this demon, and this demon just kept on thrashing me across the room, slamming me into walls, in the air, pulling me back and forth. And then I was like, wait, what's going on? This can't be happening. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a second, am I causing this to happen to myself? And I started focusing, and it was myself doing this to me. And I started thinking, wait, because it was like these giant shadowy hands just grabbing me and tossing me left and right. And then then I started thinking, is that my hand? And saying, no, I moved my hand. The hand itself moved. That was lifting me up. And I said, I'm gonna try this in a different way. How can I make this more lucid? I make this big shadowy hand more of a bluish light. How I picture my soul to look like, as a light form. Yeah, I kind of make it surround myself. This hand it kind of became like a orb around my body. Okay, now let's try something else. I lifted myself up in the air with my own hand. Like I'll fly by moving my hand. Like, I want to go this way. I want to go that way. But it was weird because I was moving my big. It was like a terribly scary dream. Once I realized that I was causing that to myself, it became like an amazing understanding about lucidity. That it takes training because the slightest tick of the mind, you can train something terrible for you. And it was really cool. As soon as I became lucid, things kind of went crazy from there because all of a sudden aliens started showing up. I met a reptoid, and a reptoid turned into a dragon. But like reptoid was like, "Hey, what's up?" And the reptoid like turned into a Chinese serpent dragon and started flying around. Like, this is awesome. I tried to do stuff up in the air and follow it, and it just kind of vanished into a light form.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Derek, that's a really interesting point you make because at least for me, in a lot of people's, I guess, like after videos of ayahuasca, for instance, they always compare them like confronting some either like buried emotion or just something they're not trying to deal with on the surface that they've compressed as a demon. And once they actually realize that that demon is within them and they accept it, that's generally what happens. Like it goes from absolutely horrible to like amazing.
Yeah.
I know exactly, but like the question is, how do you accept that demon when it's like most alive to you in the dream? Because the thing is that that it is there, but somehow you feel terrified.
Yeah. See, the reason why I'm afraid to ask project is because I study a lot about astral projection, and yes, when you go to astral projectors, you meet your guardian angels for one, and they always you just gotta call them down, they'll come to you, or your spirit guides, wherever you want to call them. You know, if you ask for them. But from people that are new to astral projection, sometimes the first time they'll go into a lower, vibrational stage of the astral realm, and they'll see negative energies such as demons. And that's why whenever I try to astral project, I have not had a since I got to the vibrational stage, but I never ever try to astral project unless the day has been a good day. Because if I had a bad day, I was afraid I'll wake up in the body, I'll be in a lower vibrational plane. That's why I'm always scared. Now, and plus, it's like that. And like lucid dreaming, that's the reason why I'm always when I, go lucid. I've only done it 3 times. I make sure that I know, I don't think of anything negative. I focus on one. I only had 3 times. One was the first. It was really positive. The second time was mostly a funny one because I was trying to become a werewolf. I got my arms turned to wolf hands. It was crazy.
Oy.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But that was a crazy dream too. I made skeletons. It was a scary part, a realm, but it wasn't scary to me. I made skeletons come from the ground to fight. It was a really awesome lucid dream. And
I know, but the question is,
it's-
how do you
yeah.
confront those guys without for example destroying them or seeking to annihilate them? It's you try to befriend them, they just simply are just a part of you.
yeah, the way I look at this, I don't look at demons as bad things, but they're just there for their purpose. People need to, there's a good and bad. There's angels and demons. They're there for a purpose. They're not necessarily bad. We have a role.
I'm serious. What is a demon in the dream
Well,
world?
it depends. I know that Dorian Virtue has said this before, but it's there's ancestor spirits, there's ascended masters, there's angels and certain things. Now, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily demons, but there's what they call earthbound spirits, and earthbound spirits can really mess with people if they get if they substance abuse or they do something, it's really they have an earthbound spirit around them, or if they're just constantly just beyond clumsy, they could have a earthbound spirit, around them. And so it's not in the senses that they're good or bad from what I've seen, but it's just kind of like you have friends, in your regular life, but you don't need. I mean, you unconditionally love everybody. They come from the same source, but you don't have to hang out with everybody, and that's kind of the way that I look at it. For the earthbound spirits, it was yeah, I understand, you come from the source and all that, but I gotta hang out with you.
Drew.
That's the way I look at it.
But I have felt things around me that have I feel malintent. You know what I mean? Emanating from whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you can do, and this is one of the most powerful things, is you can do Reiki. There's so many things you can do, but you can actually do a vacuuming technique in which you invoke Archangel Michael and just ask him to vacuum your whole body, your whole aura, and so that any entity, if there's any entity around you, that it'll go and get sucked up in the vacuum, and be oh no, but
Get sucked up in the vacuum. Oh wow.
It'll get sucked up in the vacuum.
Not fun to say.
Oh wow.
Alright, so this is gonna tie in back to what we were talking about a little bit on what is hell and how to confront the demons that we see in our dreams. They both kind of tie together. So basically you go back to where Andy was talking about the root chakra, and when it messes up, everything falls down like a domino effect basically. So the root, to me, hell is it's when you're living purely in the root chakra, because it's then survival. Like, you don't, all that matters is getting the next meal, like whatever, just pure survival. Like, it's just like you don't get to experience any of the other chakras. Like, it's like being in a knife fight with somebody. It's just pure terror, not fun, and it's a struggle. To me, that's like hell. We create our own hell. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's choosing
Yeah,
to live
exactly.
purely. And so, like, the way these demons and shit come into our dreams is when we're living in hell on earth, or we're around those that are living in hell on earth. And to me, the biggest way to like get rid of them in the dream world is to basically confront them in the waking world, and then like heal whatever it is that projects those demons or creates those demons, or whatever you think those demons are in the waking world. The easiest way to fix that is to go and heal them yourself in the waking world. And then as you do that, like, it heals the astral planes too, like, because then you're making it like a cleaner place basically, and like you're filling it with higher vibrations rather than these lower, denser forms, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
So
In
like
fact,
basically,
yeah, exactly. In
so
fact, here's
that's,
some,
to me,
yeah,
that's basically how we're gonna like move Earth up, and like we're all gonna evolve basically, and then like from there, like, we'll be able to do all the shit we do in our dreams on Earth, because Earth will already be like in that area, because we won't have these like lower, denser vibrations like dragging us down, kind of like gravity. If that makes sense.
Yeah, plus I see a lot evolving nowadays too, like since the shift of the ages. Like for me and Matt, we're in the same class for the first 3 hours, and there's a kid named Quincy. He's not the only one that I see starting to expand and ask us questions. Like, he asked more Matt questions than I did, but there's more kids.
oh, Matt, oh, you're in trouble now.
Like,
That's the man.
they're not asking questions. Like, they're like, people are more involved in asking more questions. Like, how to, like, what is evolution? Like, the first thing he asked was, more people are more beautiful than us. I started giving him answers, and then, and not only that, now I'm starting to see like more people talking about school, like in my 5th and 6th hour. There's this one kid that was watching me watch Spirit Science. I'm like trying to wake up, like, wow, people are starting to be interested. There's shift the ages. I'm like, and like the whole, crystals. Got a kid talking about crystals. Got a kid now. That's why I got Mr. Crystals, because he was asking about lucid dreaming, and that's why I brought this up pretty much. These crystals he was talking to me about that help with lucid dreaming. I just figured they're called, and I would go out and buy them. I just don't have a car to go to the nearest shop. It's like far off from my house. But
you can go on online, and just like, if you go to like Amazon, you can order like big ass amounts of them, or if you're looking for specific ones, you just type the name in. If you're looking for ones that really help with lucid dreaming, I know you could try purple fluorite. It's like that's like a really kind of good one. It's supposed to help connect you to the mystic realms. But and then like, what was the other? I'm trying to think of this other one I remember. It's like a greenish color. I forget the name of it though. But it's really good on like connecting you to your higher self. I just forget the name of what it's called. I think I have it around somewhere. But
Yeah,
yeah, like, just as far as like as far as using crystals, just like you can just use the internet and find whatever it is that like suits the need. Like, search what crystal helps with this, that. And then the other thing I've noticed is when it comes to crystals, like, look at the color of the stones too. Because like, just picture the way the chakra system works, like red, survival, orange, like, and it goes on, like, and then from that, like, each stone will most likely, if whatever color it is going to help whatever that chakra helps with, or whatever that chakra usually functions with. But that, and like, another thing besides just looking up the definitions of them, is like also being able to just like, I don't know, if you ever do run into a shop, I suggest going to a shop rather than just like looking everything up on the internet, because like, a lot of times the way I look at like crystals sometimes is like, it's better to intuitively pick it, because your subconscious is more likely going to steer you to whichever one you need the most, if that makes sense.
yeah.
But yeah, just I would say just do research and figure out what you want or what you feel you need, and then just go for it. Basically, like
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have what's it called? It's like made from lava. Like people use it more so for scrying, but it's called what it's called? I'll guys.
am I
It's a
this?
bowl.
A ball. Is it like a crystal ball, quartz ball, or something? I have no idea.
Huh. No, I still keep hearing rumors
Which
of
one?
I keep hearing rumors of this crystal. I keep forgetting the shape. You know, the Star of David shape, but it's a 3D mushroom.
The country or Merkaba.
Yeah, Merkaba. There's this. I keep hearing this Merkaba crystal. I don't know what Merkaba crystal is even called. I heard about spirit science. I started doing research on
Oh,
it.
you don't know Andros, Drew?
It's what's called?
Andros is
No,
the
I
boss in the star.
Huh?
In the what? Oh my God! Sorry, go ahead.
Hello?
Andrew, I don't know what in the world are you chatting over on the chat box. Oh my god.
But
Can you hear me?
at the
Yeah,
end
we can hear you.
But see here, like you can use it for scrying, but it's really good for bringing things like out of the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. I forgot what it's called, but it's made out of something that was like with lava.
What?
Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
but like whatever it is, like the thing is that from what I noticed when what you guys are talking about, it's almost like as though the dreams that you have, the calling of those so-called angels, are just basically just different states of your mental health, you know? Like for example, a person with schizophrenia or even PTSD. I'll bet you when I almost joined the Navy, I've seen PTSD before. It's ridiculous. Like people were fearful
Wait,
for their
Drew,
lives.
you know who Andros was?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I was just reading about it in the chat, and I was just like, oh, what's Andros? I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you mean Andros from Lilac was?
I have no idea. Well, like basically,
But what were you?
Wait, Drew, do you know who Andros was?
No, I don't.
Oh.
No idea.
I can tell you
But
from Greek mythology, but I don't know. I never heard about Andros, but he sounds like a mythological character.
He's from Star Fox 64.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
The monkey at the very end.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh.
yeah.
Oh, I did have a question for Drew, which was
yeah.
if we spend all of our time in the lowest chakra, you were saying that makes it like hell.
yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
then conversely, if we spend all of our time in the crown chakra, does that mean that we'd be in heaven?
Well, to answer that,
In
well,
a sense.
yeah, in a sense, like, if we were, like, for example, like, let's see if everyone who here ever been through the crown chakra before, like ever had visualization of the crown chakra. Like,
Yeah.
what does it feel like up there when you experience the power of it, or you opened it in some way or the other?
Well, it feels kind of like there is no difference between me and the larger universe.
Right, and so like, what was the feeling when you know that everything is just unified? You know, like everyone, and like I know, like me myself, I experienced this when I was 4.
Well, it felt like all of my problems had disappeared, and there was just a very nice feeling was left. You know, no badness.
Yeah. To me, it was always just like it was like the ultimate feeling of like connectedness, if that makes sense. Like just everything like interconnecting and being like on a like it's hard to explain because like if you look at just like the way your aura works and everything and the whole toroidal pattern, to me it's just like it's that point of just like your essence coming out and just like connecting with the world in a loving manner, basically. Essentially, I guess it also depends on like how your energy flows through your chakras too. Like if you can still manage to get there and be someone who's more rooted into like the solar plexus, which is more about like willpower or whatever, like it might feel like, oh, I can control everything, or like if you're more in the heart, it's like I'm loving with everything, or like it depends. Like there's to me like because like the chakras are more like if you look at it's like how do I explain it, like cogs in a machine almost, I guess. Like it's a different each way your energy flows through and which chakras are more your strength or whatnot, like is essentially how you function in a way. But to me, like I would say that I don't know if I would necessarily call like living in the root, to me, is like definitely like hell, I would say,
Yeah.
because you're so focused on survival. But like when you're up in the crown, I guess you could describe it heaven, because it's like if you look at the way the chakras work, I always feel like the dimensions or realms kind of work like that too, because like it's just like I don't know, if you just look at like the structure of phi and like the way our bodies work compared to the universe around us and everything, like essentially like it's just like you can use like the human body and the chakras as like a ruler almost, or like a map, so to say. And then like
Like a ladder.
from there, like I would say like, going through the crown almost represents like going into the next new world, which some would maybe call heaven, like
Yeah.
or the whatever you want to call it, because you're going into that next new one, and then from there you're probably going to be on whatever their route is or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but
Oh yeah.
I would say that the way you can look at the root as a good way is like is by looking at it as like I don't know, it also represents change in a way. So like if you say you see all like this hellish type root chakra, like you can come down into your own root and then show by example how to change that, and then like offer them a new experience of a more benign type of survival, or not even so much survival, but like just, you get what I mean, kind of like, I don't know. But I would say I
Yeah.
guess you could say you could describe the crown as heaven, so to say. And then and because by then because by the time like you're really in touch with your crown, I feel like you've experienced transcendence at that point, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
because
it's
you're more of that.
Yeah, what you're
It's more of that like connected, universal type energy, you know.
yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
like going back to some of the previous times that I talked on my shows, is like when I mentioned about the Super Saiyan, I'm not just simply talking about any random guy who just turned gold hair and have super strength. I'm talking about the root chakra, where somebody feels threatened and then they have to walk up and take that lead, or otherwise, like, the world will feel threatened. It's like that need.
Yeah, but I mean, the Super Saiyan also comes from the heart too.
Yeah, but
It's
then
what you care about.
yeah,
I feel like the TV show just focuses more on like the anger aspect of it. Like, oh no, like I remember the episode where like Trunks goes Super Saiyan as like future Trunks, because Trunks was like my favorite guy. But like
Yeah.
it's like Gohan sitting there training him, and he's just like, picture what they did to this and that and blah blah blah, and he's just getting like more and more angry I don't know. Maybe I gotta rewatch it because there might be some other thing that made him finally go Super Saiyan besides just being angry. I forget. It was a long time ago. But
Yeah,
no way.
it was
Trunks was a
no.
Scorpio.
Well,
I think so.
But anyways,
yeah,
what was I gonna say? But yeah, I feel I don't know. But yeah. Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say too. Was I don't know. It's funny you brought up Dragon Ball Z just then, because while we're on the topic of dreams, like I actually remember having one dream when I was like really little, and I went like Super Saiyan for just a moment, and I thought it was the coolest thing, and I went to fly, and I was like, I was flying for a minute, I was like Super Saiyan, but then like as I noticed, I was just like, yeah, I'm Super Saiyan, all right. That was when I like came down, and I like remember like skidding on the sidewalk, just like. Oh no, I just thought I'd get in there really quick. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Super,
sick.
the Super Saiyan thing though, it's almost like they go down, access their root chakra, and then restructure the whole bridge pattern, whatever you want to call it,
I
and then
feel
they're
so,
able
but
to
it's not
transcend.
focused on. I mean, it is focused on anger, but the anger like comes from like passion, like what they really care about, what they love. Because like Goku always says, like the power comes in need to a.
It comes in need to a what we call it. Comes in need to a need, not a
Need,
desire.
not a desire. Not so, like when Gohan was just learning to turn Super Saiyan, Gohan was just trying to make it happen through anger. But when he realized it was a need, or I mean, and not a, it's like it comes from the heart. Like what I feel is like, how do you feel like when it's like something you really care about, and then you feel it in your heart. That to me
hurts. Yeah.
the Super Saiyan. You
Yeah,
know,
like I don't know about you, Sherman, but like seriously, like that's what I always sense about lucid dreaming is like when it comes to these state of minds where you all of a sudden like you want to explode. It's almost like as though it represents who you are in the awakened world. You know, it's like your mental health.
Yeah.
It
I
represents you.
I ran across an interesting theory that our emotions are actually like our physical indicators of the vibration we are currently exuding. Um, I'm not so sure how I completely feel about it. It's still a thought and work in process, but working process. But what do you guys think about it? Because I thought it was an interesting way to look at it. Just as far as our emotions being, like I guess not our triggers, but our identifiers of the vibratory level we are currently on at that moment.
Yeah. Did you ever watch I forget the YouTube video was called like The Sacred Power of Emotions or I think Vibrations or something like that, but it was by I think like Greg Barden's his name. I'll post it in the side link. But it's
Awesome.
like it's basically like where it shows like the resonant frequencies and everything, and like I think it maybe goes into like Emoto's research on the water droplets and stuff too, where like how our thoughts and our emotions affect like the shape of the water droplets and whatnot. But it's basically like the emotions are more like frequencies, I guess, and like each different as you like go from emotion to emotion, like you hit different harmonic resonance or frequency, or what was it? I don't know. I'm just
No,
giving
I know,
talking
I know
too
what you're
fast.
saying.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, basically like it's like basically like I look at emotions as more as like the vibrations we choose to put out, like so like I don't know, because if you look at I feel like thoughts and emotions are separate. Like I think thoughts would be a little bit lower than emotions, and emotions would be a tad bit higher on the vibrational scale. But and like as you work up through like the dream realms and stuff, like you'll have areas that are more thought type, more controlled by like what you think, and then like you'll have other areas where it's maybe more controlled by what you feel. And like, cause like I don't know, like even in the book I was reading, Carlos Castaneda, The Art of Dreaming, like it was talking about how like when you get into the realm of the inorganic beings or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm not too sure which realm I would like identify that with by my own practices and whatnot, but it's basically like I feel like it's more of a thought type realm because like basically like these certain beings or whatever, like if you show too much emotion, they get like scared away and just like not want to do anything with you. But yeah, I would say like emotions to me are definitely vibrations, and but yeah, like I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it at that for now.
I
I'll
would
go ahead
say
and post
like
that link in the site.
I mean you're hitting chakras like when like certain things like I know like even when I'd watch Dragon Ball, like Goku would just come back for a day and I'd be I'd be teary-eyed. Or for instance, like in The Lion King, where like that Scar dude, that asshole, pushes off Mufasa into the wilderness, and I would, I'd be like teary-eyed over a cartoon, but
Mhm.
it's I realize that it's much more than a cartoon or a movie. It's like those archetypes really, exist in that sense, in those archetypes that they're playing, and the emotions to me is like, the energy in motion. So it's
Sorry,
kind of like you're
my bad.
pushing off. No, no problem, man. It's like they're pushing these buttons get activated whenever you see something, or whenever you see Gohan, say, transform Super Saiyan 2 for the first time, but it's because they're hurting the people that he loves and certain things. He gets pissed off beyond belief. But you feel it. You feel that emotion. You feel that energy.
Yeah, that
And
was one of my initial things with just the whole, I guess, hypothesis behind it because, I mean, I kind of see that, well, at least a part of that for me rings true, whereas our emotions are kind of, at least for me, obvious indicators of the current vibrational level we're experiencing because they're so innate. Like, if someone makes you angry, you know what I mean? Aside from reacting to that anger, you can just go, from 0 to 60. You know what I mean? Not of no real fault of your own, but it's just your initial reaction. You know what I mean? Like with really any emotion, how you naturally react. I feel like before you really come into the whole, wait, let me step back, let me look at this emotion, let me see where this is coming from. Just that kind of innate reaction to things. And I mean, I think also, with training and mindfulness. It can be better conquered. But yeah, no, I can totally see that as far as emotion goes.
I feel as if rather than dividing, on the one hand there is emotion, and on the other hand there's thought. I don't think of it as two separate things. I mean, the way I look at it, I feel things because of things I think, and I think things because of the way I feel. Really, it's all
okay.
one.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
does make a lot of sense.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, definitely. That like, they're both vibrations too. Like I just wonder. Oh no, I would say they're definitely like intertwined as like, especially with that last little bit of light you shined on it. But like, I don't know. I guess I just wonder which one is like the higher-ish vibration than the. I don't know. I feel like they. But yeah, after what
Feeling
you
is
said,
the
it's like
higher sense.
definitely feed into each other. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just overthinking. I'm just really
Well,
contemplating right now.
it's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. In fact, you guys made a good point on that one. Because seriously, like, when you guys talk about, like,
No.
Noah, it's by time you get it. Oh, now you left? Come on. Alright, so, yeah, going back to what we were talking about, like, when you guys were talking about, like, dreams, about how emotions coming out of us and how sometimes they manifest into some beings like that. I found this interesting when I actually have a chance to like talk to some of my Navy recruiters. You know, it's like when I was about to recruit, when I was about to join the Navy, I had. It's almost like as though whenever I walk into their office, that sense of emotion that they give out, that these so-called Navy recruiters give, is like
No.
it's ridiculously scary, you know? Like honestly, who like if you guys ever been through the military, you'll find out that when you just walk into their work environment, it's just scary.
I was in the ROTC for like the first high school year, and yeah, like it can be tough at times, especially like on Tuesday, which was like the drill day. Would have to stay in formation. If you're out of line, yeah, everything had to be in order. It can be kind of tough at times, and you don't want to mess up the chargings. It would be scary too.
Yeah, it's not. Then next thing you know, like for example, if you go out in the battlefield and kill someone, next thing you know, you came back home and you carried that with you for life, like in forms of dreams that are extremely scary. Like I've seen some veterans, like they suffered post-traumatic stress disorder because, for example, they just got out of Vietnam War and they just somehow somebody blew up and lost their leg in the like right in front of them.
I can guarantee one thing, though. There's far more scarier things than that.
Yes, and I'll bet even my friend Michael, he has a father who is in the Marines, so he knows a lot better than I am about the military. It's like ridiculous.
My older half brother just got back from Iraq like about 3.5, 4 years ago. And when he got back, I couldn't play Call of Duty because my mom wouldn't let me because he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. And I asked mom, like, who was talking about some of the things, what he saw over there. And apparently he saw like a group of kids get caught in a firefight. Like almost all of them died. One got away but lost their leg. So it can be scary over there.
Yeah, it's like, and then somehow when you come home and you try to like forget about the vision, somehow that vision comes back to you as a dream, and you feel threatened.
Yeah.
And almost like as though no matter where you go, it follows you.
I'm
I
kind
would
of
say
like.
that.
No, go ahead, bro.
I would say that it kind of, to me, like what it sounds like, the whole like PTSD type thing represents to me is like, it almost sounds, I don't know, it's hard to say. It could just be my own speculation or view of it, but like some of it sounds like, I don't know, some like if you look at the way like, or at least for me, like the way demons work and like just bad dreams and shit in general is like, usually if you have like an internal problem that you have a hard time addressing, or not even that you have a hard time addressing, you just have a hard time making sense of it, that like it shows up in those areas, like because it's like and not just in those, like not just in dreams and shit too, it'll show up like in all sorts of different aspects of your lives. But to me it's like oh no, like when I look at like soldiers, like essentially like, I'm not saying they're like bad people or anything. I'm just saying like they're basically mercenaries. Like they're soldiers for hire rather than like a soldier for themselves. And, like you get what I mean by that? Like I don't know. Like
Yeah,
it's not. I mean
Honestly,
they probably have. I'm sure they have plenty of good intentions doing what they're doing, but it's when they. It's always when they come back and then like experience normal life again is when they have like more like the PTSD, like all the problems and the flashbacks and shit. And I feel like it's because it's like a realization of like what they did while they were out there versus what they thought they were doing originally. If
People
that makes
don't,
sense.
Yes.
I
people
feel like
don't always have a choice in
I
such.
feel like as people, I feel like as
Everybody has
people
a
learn,
choice. Everybody has free will.
I
Well,
feel like as
what I
people
mean
learn
is,
to just,
what I mean
I
is,
feel
for instance, Britain and Germany in the
Mhm.
World Wars, you pretty much got to fight, haven't you?
Yeah, but I'm saying everybody has free will. So I mean, if they chose to incarnate during that, I mean that's what they chose.
Well, that's
Um,
assuming that we have consciousness, and we can choose what reality we're going to choose
Exactly.
prior to birth.
Yeah.
but can
But I mean,
we
how do we know that
can
that is the case?
No, go ahead,
exactly?
Drew.
That's what I was gonna say. Can we
Well,
really say that we all have like this dead set choice process that we get to choose every single life we incarnate into?
Because
Like,
I'm
just I
pretty
don't know. To me, to say that somebody who gets tortured or like an animal like chose to be tortured because it incarnated into that life, like how do you know it really
yeah
wanted to
yeah
incarnate into that life? Or what if it only did it because it
anyone
felt like if he
would
didn't do it,
not
somebody else would?
choose a
Like,
life if they knew that it was destined to go to war. If they knew that choosing this life was going to make them kill people and they don't really want to, then why would you choose that? I think it's something imposed on us, really.
well, this is what I read up on
I don't know.
like
I think there's so much amnesia that people go through that you forget the whole contract. You forget everything like that you set up before you came here. So there's so much amnesia, and I think that's what possibly can pervert people to, like, you forget your whole path, you forget your whole destiny, you forget everything, and then so you kind of go off from the path, and I think that so. I
yeah.
know one thing for sure. I know everyone has free will. I know that's something that like cannot be messed with.
Yeah, I was gonna follow that up. I think that was a really good point that was made. I totally think, there's still two combating halves. Like, there's still, like our higher self. I'm sure our higher self, when we're at source, if you will, getting ready to incarnate again or to whichever dimension we do, I think our higher self does choose, as do we, choose the life that is going to be most beneficial for our spirit or our soul to learn and to grow from. But I do also think, like you were saying a second ago, that doesn't take into account the matters of the world, Like you can have the best intention and your spirit can have the best intention in your incarnation, you know what I mean? But that still doesn't really take into effect everything you're going to have to deal with outside of yourself because you still live in the world.
Right, right.
Right, right. In fact, like from what you and even Tony, you did chat with me once, where like we were talking about like what does it take to build a like create a reality that we want. Somehow, like our lives is like this. It's like this child threw this pebble, this small little pebble, into the river, and it makes a ripple. It doesn't matter where you throw it. It matters uh, like what type of ripple do you create out of it? And when you create a ripple, everything in that river got affected. So when
Actually, I
so yeah, so when our lives, when we pass away, that information that we send out to the world is still there. And somehow what happens is karma allows that so-called glue to glue that part of our information together. That's what makes our emanation. In fact, we never incarnated, we never reincarnated either. We're just somehow being. We're just somehow like things that like organisms that just send out signals, and somehow what we perceive as ourselves turns out to be the information that we already sent out long time ago.
I think I said something about it last week where, like, before we choose to incarnate, that we see like a foreshadow of our life, and then
Yeah, for
for
Yeah,
yeah,
Sylvia or somebody, I forgot.
yeah, exactly. In fact,
Who
yeah,
was
in
it?
fact,
Who was it, Matthew? It was the medium, the psychic, right?
yeah, Teresa Capito. Yeah, because it was in her book that I read that, because it was like, before we incarnate, we get to like choose everything, choose the life we want for the lessons that we want to learn, and so like we get a foreshadow of our life before we actually choose it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
totally. That
and
makes a
that's
lot
what
of
I was.
sense.
That's all I was saying. That's all I went to the insect. I don't know your name, bro.
Daniel.
The what is it? What's your name, bro?
Daniel.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
from England.
Daniel. Yeah,
He's
you
from
said.
England.
Okay, yeah, that's all. Like, you do choose. You know, this whole thing. The thing is that if everyone has free will, then that means that like you're in a world with everyone has free will, and no one can. It's kind of like this circle, like the way that like I've heard it. It's like this circle, and you have kind of like this bubble, right? So your bubble is your free will and everything that you can do. Now, tries to get in another bubble. If it's not coming and the person doesn't want that, then that's invading the other person's free will, and that's where divinities, you know, other beings can step in and say, "Hey, bro, you're getting in the other person's bubble." You see what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all I was saying.
Environment.
So yeah, like when it comes to dreams, same thing. Like dreams manifest because we put in something like at that moment, and now it came back to haunt us.
Comes back as a banana.
What is it? What do they say? What you resist persist? Yeah.
Yup. And in fact, going back to the Varens thing, like somehow, like when I learned about how like when you first walk into that battlefield, it's like you first experience violence already.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what I find funny about people in the military, all that high like PTSD, that
Oh yeah.
every single one of them has had like this ultimate fear of being on the battlefield. Whenever they, so I've gone so deep in research that I keep finding stories about alien abductions from people, and they said the fear is like far greater than the experience. But it's not just that; it's also like when they lucid dream, that fear comes back to them and manifests, and they really sit back on that battlefield, and everything seems so real again, just from that fear, and that all
It
the next thing you
is.
know, they wake up. They wake up, and they wake up in the middle of the
Yeah,
bed,
but
and they stab
on
the
the
person.
battlefield it is real though, isn't it? On the
Yeah.
battlefield itself it is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, like if you guys didn't notice, Noah, I think he just left. He's actually a Jewish guy. But like when I read about Israel, oh my God, the way how they trained their youngsters, like when you were young, you were trained how to fight and learn how to throw bombs already. I can
Oh
just
man.
I can just imagine how would that psychologically affects the child after he's like hitting
Kind
12 or
of look at
something.
it in the collective, and it's just like, are coming from a place? Are people coming from a place of love? Are they coming from a place of fear? Why do they need all these bombs and stuff if they're coming from a place of love?
Yeah, I know. Like I know that Israel is a it's originally a land of the Hebrews, which is like the land of love. But somehow, whenever I look at today, it's like full of violence. People just
Well,
they
that's
always have
only
to
what
live
the
in.
media is showing you.
It's like they
That's
have
only
to
what the
constantly.
media is showing you. I mean, I've heard people that have have to Israel. My man Shaman Durek, he's gone to Israel, and even in times when there's a war going, and he still goes, and the people there are beautiful and welcoming, and some of them very peaceful. So it just depends. The media is only showing you the areas in which it's going to generate that fear, is going
Oh
to
yeah.
generate that emotion within you. But there's
Oh
so many
yeah.
positive things that go in even Israel. So I feel like they're they're only showing a small fragment of like all the positive things that could be going on there.
But what the people who are there are fighting about it seems to me they're fighting over the Holy Land, what they consider to be the Holy Land.
Yeah, I know. That makes me so mad too. Like,
Yeah, I was like, when it comes to the Holy Land, is it that big of a deal?
I know religion just I see religious wars all the time. I'm like, why? Over your beliefs that make this contradicts others. I just don't see why the whole point
Yeah.
of who the land is.
I
Are-
know.
Are not all of us sacred?
Yeah.
No, seriously. Like,
I
it's so
know.
funny that
If
they're
anything
I
fighting.
know,
sacred is
right?
the human body.
Yeah, it's so funny they're fighting over the Holy Land when quite literally, I mean, if it is
You
not the
are the Holy
Holy Land,
Land.
Yeah.
exactly,
What
you know?
Since when this war? This makes no sense.
Uh,
You
Dude,
are the Holy Land.
I I don't know about you guys, but like when I heard about how they fought over the Holy Land, I was like, seriously, you spend billions of dollars on bombs, planes, and all those crap just to fight over this?
Please, next thing will be the Pyramid of Giza once they find out how important that is. They're like, oh, this Holy Land? We built this pyramid. It's got all this sacred technology. So, you ask me one thing after another. War for
There's
no
nothing,
reason.
dude. There's nothing wrong with having
Yeah.
the Holy Land, but like seriously, what's wrong with fighting it? You know, it's like
Yeah.
if if the Israelites or Jewish people, if you need some land, just come over and live with us. Share an
Yeah.
apartment for a while. There's
Yeah, like,
nothing.
please, my Holy Land is the beach on a sunny day.
And
That's all.
that, I don't know about you guys, but that also happens the same thing with North Korea.
Yeah, I know. Like I've
That was the
seen
mean,
most
videos.
that was one of the most ridiculous thing I ever seen. Is like in the dream world, I know that this crap shouldn't be happening, but somehow out of the blue, people had to fight over land or
I
power,
mean,
I
like
do think,
if you look at it, if you were like a tiny human, I'm not saying like like dwarves, like a fairy, but like if you were like a really tiny human, and then you looked at us, even if you looked at a person that may be 4 foot tall, they look like these gigantic beings to them from their perception. If they were to crawl on you, would that not be their holy land? So
I would
it's
say that
it's just
You introduced somewhat an abstract element into the argument.
I would say that basically like the Holy Land is everywhere. Us, it's
you
Earth,
can.
it's the universe,
I mean, like the
it's
universe,
everything. Like,
everything. This whole universe itself is the Holy Land.
And
We're
probably the thing
breathing.
is,
Yeah, we're breathing
anything,
it.
anything
and probably the thing
is
is,
like sacred. It all has the same structure, like of like thought or whatever. Everything, like to me, anything that's like relatable to you or the same structure, like structure of infinity, like phi, pi, whatever.
yeah,
Like it's all like it's in us. It's in everything we see. You can't deny it. And then like as far as like the wars over the Holy Land, this, that, to me, that's just like people up on top of hierarchy types, like ladders, just trying to like get us to fight against each other so they can control us essentially. As
I
soon
mean,
as
like
people
here's.
realize like
I mean,
or
like
when
here's the
people
thing.
come into realization like we're all one and like there's no reason to fight, like we are the same, like it's just like eventually like it's gonna get to the point where people realize like it's just pointless. Like what's worth fight? Like what are we really fighting over? You know what I mean? It's just like I don't know. I feel like it's just a matter of time before people. It's like that fight or flight type response. Like when you feel threatened, like as soon as people realize like hey we're all here sharing like together like I don't know. It's just a matter of time before, like, I feel like violence and shit in general just disappears. If that makes sense. Like, and I feel like that's when we're gonna be
I'm
able to
not.
like
I'm not sure that violence
situation.
will ever completely disappear.
I
I
mean,
mean,
like.
still
I
have
mean, like.
government,
All
for
right,
example.
so you guys brought up a good point here. Like, when it comes to lucid dreaming, who in here ever experienced violence in their life? Like, any forms of violence, domestic violence, abuse, you name it, or seeing someone who suffered abuse.
That's the underworld, man.
Of course, I know it's the underworld, but like who just went there before, and tell us like, what was it looks like down there, and how do you experience your dreams out of it? You know, how it damages
Well,
you.
you mean on the you seen that on the dream world, or like just in life in general?
I
Like,
mean, like,
there's
you experience violence in the real world, and how it affects you in the dream world.
Well, I've had violence in this world, but I've never like felt it in the dream world. So I wouldn't know that feeling.
yeah, I would say essentially the same. Like the only like violent dreams I've had is like that one childhood memory I told you guys earlier, and then like the one where I was just exhausting my energy on this thing I couldn't even really punch or like physically touch, if that makes sense. And then I realized when I woke up, like, oh, I just wasted all my energy like trying to like, what was I doing? I feel exhausted now. But I feel like I don't know, like me, I grew up with, I don't know, I saw violence in a lot of the different neighborhoods I grew up and lived with. A lot of it I feel like has to do with like just different cultures intermingling, and like it's just, I feel like it's just a phase, if that makes sense. That, and I also grew up and like I grew up on a fight team in martial arts. Like I was planning to be like a pro fighter and shit when I got older, but like I'm to the point now where it's like I love training and shit, and working together, because like the thing you'll look at is like martial arts, like true martial art dojos and shit, is they promote family bond ties, and like I don't know, like
I know.
my thing now is like I can't compete with a clean conscience, if that makes sense. I can't go into an MMA ring and beat somebody up for money and still have a clean conscience about it, because I look at like my thing is like I look
I
at the
hear
people
you.
who are watching the fight, the
Yeah.
way it affects them, especially the people who are uneducated about it and never went through the training. Like they're gonna take that shit, they're gonna carry those vibrations with them into their everyday
Yeah.
lives. Whether or
God,
not they go about and start beating up some random person because they're like, whoa, that shit was cool. Like that's not the point. Like it's the fact that like I'm influencing them and like showing them like, yeah, violence. You get what I mean? Especially when you look at the people who get like super smashed and are just like bloodthirsty as fuck watching the fights, like, yeah, yeah, like that's why I can't do it anymore. I love
Have you ever looked at the
promoting family
peaceful
ties and
aspect
also
of
comes
these
with it.
martial arts?
That is the lower self.
What was that?
Exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
Drew.
Yeah,
Have you ever looked
so
at
it's like me now.
like Tai Chi, Wing Chun?
yeah. That's
It's more like
is it
yoga
Iman?
rather than fighting.
Yes, is
Yeah,
it
I did
Iman?
it.
Because I'm not joking. Like, here's the thing: it's like, here's what I notice is when I start watching violent films. This is like when I was only 12 or 10 to 12 or something. Like, I was pretty bored out with a lot of the kids stuff. I began to start watching violent movies. Somehow, when that happens, I start having violent dreams along with it, where I massacre people in the dream. I'm not joking. Like,
Yeah.
like for example, like there's this one time, like I told Sarah about this. People, you know Sarah, anyone? Like, I told her that there's this one time I dreamt that I was a Viking soldier, and if I was a general, somehow I led this army of 10,000 soldiers against a group of Celts. Somehow, I was the ruthless general to the point where I would start slaughtering literally everyone from the opposite team.
Wow.
Like
Awesome.
I would cut off their head, chop off their body part,
Oh, no.
dislocate them, they can do whatever I want. I just feel thrilled to do it.
And now I just want to play Elder Scrolls.
But then next thing you know, like when I personally finally got to the point where I feel like I'm gonna get killed, I found out I sense fear. All of a sudden, and it's like, oh please, don't tell me this is the end. And
Oh.
that's when I noticed, okay, this is the end. Bam, I died got dislocated, but somehow I noticed that. Wait a minute, is this all a dream in the first place?
I've only had, yeah. Fighting your dreams are like the funnest things you could do to me. Like I've living your fantasies in your dreams is awesome. That's something I would do if I could lucid dream right now.
I'm not joking. If you ever probe into my head of lucid dreaming, and if you might think I'm some antisocial person who would get a gun and shoot people and see blood all over the place. That's what fascinates me when I was a child.
Did you have like any traumatic like experiences before the dreams, or did you hear that?
Yeah. What's going on?
Did you ever did you ever go through like any traumatic like type experiences before you had the dreams, or?
Somehow I experienced abuse when I was a child, so therefore I ended up getting into so much rage, and then boom, it just exploded.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I would say that the dreams were just like was your view of like what was happening to you. I guess if that makes sense. You get what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't like talking about it, but I've been in situations like not like the dream, so to say, but of abuse, so to say. It's something I don't like sharing with a lot of people, but like I noticed, I don't know, is also one of the things that led me into martial arts originally is like you get those strong feelings of like, you know, if this is happening to me, like I want to get him back almost, you know. But like by the time I
Yeah.
got to the point where I could have like gone and taken my vengeance or whatever, like
It wasn't
at the
worth
skill
it.
level and everything of like exactly, it just wasn't worth it. It's like
I
I
don't
don't
know about you,
want to
Drew.
put that back out.
No, I'm
You know
not
what I mean?
joking,
Like,
Drew.
I don't
Like
know. It's
here's the funny
something
thing.
to put in.
When you're talking about like when
Dog,
you're when
swear.
you're talking about like martial arts and reality, here's what funny is that the moment that I visualize my opponent falling down and get knocked over unconscious, it happened, you know? Like there's this one moment when I was just only a red belt. This is like let me see. About 8 years ago. I I was just only testing for my red belt, and then I try to practice martial arts. Somehow I visualized that time, like I got so ferocious that I only want to see my opponent fall on the ground and just unconscious. And when I start swinging my leg, when he comes at me, it happens right at that moment. He not only just was unconscious, he was crying, and he was on the ground spinning. I thought
Yeah,
I knocked
I
him
would
out
say
in blood.
like how hard were you guys? How hard were you guys sparring
Uh,
before you threw the kick?
me, if me, if I come at you, like here's how fast it is if I come at you, you better get your hands up immediately because I'm coming at you to the point where you can be falling back like 2 or 3 feet away, man.
I just wanted to like touch on the
Yeah,
point that Insect Mine and Drew had made earlier, because Tony was more Tony's mentioning it in the side chat now, but I think that's a um, really important lesson that a lot of people do miss. That the actual art form is self-defense, and that if you stay with it long enough, and have, I guess, a good enough teacher, or come to the self-realization that it's truly not about the fight. And I think that's what does end up happening with a lot um, of the audience members, if you will. You know what I mean? They're in the wrong mindset. They're in it for the fight. Whereas, those who are actually
Like,
undertaking the art and the skill and the practice know that it's not about the fight. And if anything, hold that as their very last resort.
exactly.
Right. In
Yes.
fact,
yes.
yeah, and
I'd say
No,
somehow,
like
I want to say, like, I've actually been in, like, kind of like what Drew was saying. I mean, I've actually been in, like, like, I'm the type of person that, like, I'd always come in peace. And I was kind of like one of the people that like never liked to fight, so that's why people would like mess with me, because I was kind of like the one that like never like, I was like the peacekeeper. But in certain situations like that I got into, you know, I mean, I've had like what he was saying, like a traumatic experience in that certain sense, but realize that, and I look at it, and when you're fighting someone, you're really, if you look at it, it's like you're really fighting yourself. It's
Oh yeah.
really, it's really you fighting yourself. I mean, in the sense of, because all these great things are to lead. It's the expression of the human body, first of all. But martial arts was originally a discipline for, knowing yourself, like self-knowledge, I feel.
Gnosis.
Yeah, I agree. And like if you look at like a true martial artist versus like some asshole who just wants to be like show off how tough he is or get on TV or make money off of it. The true martial artist is there to protect what he holds dear without and always using violence as the last resort. To them, they never even want to think about having to use what they've learned as far as like the violent parts of it. If like that's the very, very, very last resort, if not ever. Like it's only out of defense for your life. You know what I mean? Like or to protect those
that's what they teach them,
that
because
that aren't able to protect themselves. Like all about
because there's a spiritual point. That's the spiritual aspect of it that I think a lot of people miss.
Oh
is
yeah.
that like you use these techniques, but if you get to a point where you're just either so confident in yourself or you're so good, it could be scary if you know these certain things, if you know certain qigong techniques, and you could really like hurt somebody.
Or you can hurt yourself. Like for example, like what I'm telling you, like sometimes like right after a violent event, you can end up with a bad dream, and it terrifies you.
See, to me,
It damages your emotional
No,
health
go ahead,
too.
man.
to me, fighting is just like pointless. Like, you don't like the person, so what? What's fighting them going to accomplish in the end? Like, you're both going to get hurt in the end, so what are you accomplishing from it?
Yeah,
That's one thing I love that he said. And I wish Sherman was here now. But
Hey, Matt, ask me that question again at the end of the school year, because I might be getting in a fight pretty soon with this one kid.
Wait, what happened? I just was walking
wait,
by and I heard my name.
Sherman. I was
Hey,
gonna say.
I want to input on what Matt said. Basically, like the thing you'll notice about like when you fight somebody, like a full-on fight, like it fucking sucks, dude. Like you're beat to shit. The other guy's beat to shit, tired, and you're like you hurt, and like you don't heal up for at least a week or two. If it was like a full-on like bar fight, and like at the end of it, like the only thing you walk away with is like an ego boost at the very most. Is like a little ego boost of I won. And a lot of times, like you can look at fights that happen, and it's like there is no real winner there sometimes.
No, there is. There is no real winner. It's no real winner.
Like,
It's
especially
just the first person who gives up.
Especially if you look at the way like it's promoted through like UFC and shit, like they have all these like they can't even, a lot of fights like they can't even track who won. Like they'll use the boxing point system and shit, but like in reality, like that's not always like I don't know. Like you'll notice a lot of fights like sometimes like it's just like whoever the most popular fighter the better score, but sometimes that's not even it. Like you can fight somebody, both of you can lose, and it's just a matter of like you both got so beat to shit. Like at the end of the day, all it is like, well, no, I won because you see me hit him with this, and that. Well, no, I hit this, and that. What's up? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Nothing
then,
but pure ego.
yeah, I know.
The ego is just say my ego's better than your ego.
Right.
Like
I know,
it's
right?
pointless.
Yes.
Like
That's what
completely
Bruce Lee was
pointless
trying to.
altogether.
That's what I was gonna
Oh,
say is that's what I was gonna say. My man,
Go ahead, Michael.
exactly. Bruce Lee was. Oh no, Bruce Lee said this in the movie. He was training. His name was Mike, and he was saying, because this guy didn't know how to win because he felt he was like, I don't know, he was gonna get beat up or something. So he was just like, you always want to win, but never to accept to lose. And then he's like, to accept to lose, to die, is to be liberated from it. In the sense, so he told him, so you must, free your ambitious mind and learn the art of dying. And I look at that because even when you just say, hey man, I lose, I lost, and you just come to that realization, you're free from the ambition of wanting to win. I mean, what's so great? It's really it has nothing to do with skill. Skill is developed internally. That's something you're trying to prove to yourself.
Well, I feel that like even our instincts towards sex may be a purely vain thing.
Uh-huh.
All this vanity.
Yeah. I feel like so much of it is like surface level. Like I do Michael, that was a really good quote, because I feel like, to me at least, it's not, that says it's not about the fight. You know what I mean? Because if you go into it with the right mindset, you've already won without fighting, And I think that's just a really, really big thing. To have that conscious mindset when being in that, because at least I'm not, I don't practice any art forms, but from just what I've collected and what I've seen, it is that, like, that constant internal struggle with oneself. But then, like Drew was saying, when going into an actual fight, when it's really like adrenaline and it comes down to that fight or flight, and through the practicing of the arts, I feel like one is able to step back easier and be like, all right, well, is this even really worth it? You know what I mean? Because if you go into it with the correct attitude of, there really is no winning or losing, but if it's not for the sake of pure protection,
I think
kind of lost.
I think much of this idea that males should fight each other comes from the evolutionary process.
Uh-huh.
If I can beat you in a fight, then I'm more worthy of a female.
Oh, yeah, I hear.
That's coming from just the gonads, though. The lowest chakra.
Yeah.
I also feel like that is something that is perpetuated nowadays in common society. Such a low vibratory frequency or thought pattern is being, fueled, if you will, by the media, by the image of what it means or what society includes in being male. And that's
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man. I mean, like, that's the thing, though. I mean, with all this, though, is when you look at it, is the thing. There is no real winner because every human being feels pain, and it's. I mean, there's certain things you can do when you know qigong and certain things where you don't have to feel as much pain, but still, like, we're sentient beings. And I noticed this when, I mean, I enrolled into, Taekwondo when I was like, 8 years old or so. And when we would be sparring and stuff, there would be this one time where the guy just couldn't, he couldn't hit me. I mean, he was my friend, but he couldn't land thing, and it just showed me kind of even there that it's just like if I'm blocking every single one of his moves, like what is this about?
I
Like,
think it's to keep us all in that lower vibratory frequency, to keep us all in that lower vibratory frequency of fear. And when we're in fear, not living in a place of love, it's so much easier for us to be influenced and controlled, and because we're scared. You know what I mean? You
yes,
can't be both in a place of growth and a place of protection at once. It's either love or it's either fear, and I just feel like that's a big
yes.
part of it.
That is, you actually see it in the Karate Kid movie. I don't know if you remember the second movie where the guy tries to hit Mr. Miyagi and he moves. He just moves, and the guy hits like the car window and like his hands all bloody. It just shows that like because this guy to me at least was representing the ego in the sense of this just wanting to win, just wanting to be good. And Mr. Miyagi, to me, represented the true martial artist that, like, had that discipline and knew, like, I'm avoiding the punches because it's not even about the punches.
Exactly. That's totally.
I'm just showing you,
Like
yeah. No, go ahead,
the
Drew.
more the more experienced martial artist always knows how to end it as peacefully as possible without having to like inflict damage on the guy coming after him. Basically,
Exactly. It's
like
all about
it's all about just
redirecting the energy.
like true martial arts is all about keeping the peace. Like you know what I mean? Like
That's so true.
That's what I've always, and I think that's really what the ancients taught. And I mean, even Bruce Lee was saying things, of that nature. If you've been practicing martial arts that long, you've won enough to like realize that like it's not even about winning. It's not even if you know you're good, like you don't need to show anybody to like prove that you're a good martial artist. You don't need to
One
hurt
thing I've
somebody
heard
to.
that's run pretty congruent
no,
though from a lot of my friends that actually practice is in the practice of the art. It's kind of like they lose that sense of needing to justify that false need, that false ego, that false, depend. And once again, this is, a ton of variables to this, and depends on the student, depends on the teacher, depends on a variety of other things. But generally, from the friends that I have that take their art rather seriously, somewhere along the process it's lost, and that becomes so it's not even in their sight, because you're never looking for a fight. That's not even what it's remotely about at that point in time. It's quite literally what's the simplest way.
Yeah, the whole
definitely.
be like water.
Be like water.
Because you're really just flowing. It's like even shows it. I don't know if it's Jeet Kune Do or it's Wing Chun, but even Bruce Lee, he's just like just flow with the punches and in such like resistance. You're just flowing, just going around and like just adapting.
Yeah, exactly. Like the thing is I wonder like if you guys have any idea about how to use martial arts way to like conquer certain fearful lucid dreaming, for example. Like we all have like to a certain degree like strong emotions to the point where sometimes it threatens our own survival, like what Drew said. We're going to have emotions like that. We're going to face things that are like veterans, where they will feel threatened. We will have to
Yeah,
defend our lives. But to what extent
I
can
would,
martial arts help us
I
to be
would,
able to like deal with that stronger?
I would say that I would say like that as you progress through the different levels of training in martial arts and that doesn't even, when I say progress through the different levels, I'm not talking about like black belt, purple belt, this, that. To me, like, I never, when I was training, like, I never cared about the ranking systems. Like, to me, like, I don't know. In my younger years, I always looked at it as like, well, what do I need a belt if your record says this, this, and that? And now I look at it as like, well, the record's kind of stupid too. Like, it's like, as you progress through the levels, like, you begin, like, as you become a better martial artist and everything, like, essentially, like, it teaches you, like, to battle your own inner self and, like, confront what you need to confront. And then, like, as you go through the practices and the drills and, like, everything you do in martial arts training and all the different lessons you take in, like, it's hard for me to, like, sit here and, like, try to, like, tell you the lessons you learn from it. Like, a lot of it depends on, like, what schools you go to, who your teacher was or whatever, you know, because there's a lot of gyms where you'll go and you just pay fucking $100-200 a month, and they give you a black belt after 2 years just for showing up every day. To me, like, that just shows how silly the ranks and shit are in general. Like, but the true progression,
2 years.
True
2 years to
progression
become a black belt.
comes from that. Yeah, true progression is like that removal of fear. Like, as you develop through your practices and everything, like, you don't fear some dude coming up onto the streets and, like, beating the shit out of you or whatever, because you know how to defend yourself. And it's not even the fact that, like, oh, well, I can defend myself against this, this, and that, blah, blah, blah. It's just the fact that, like, you essentially, like, it teaches, like, on a spiritual level, you develop more through it. And I feel like that frequency, like, carries over into your dreams. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, in your dreams it's not the same physical, like, like, but it's more just like, it's more like that state of mind / emotional being of, like, safety and, like, no assurance and, like, knowing where you are and, like, just not needing to fight, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, it carries, like, everything you go through, it'll just carry over into that realm, if that makes sense. But yeah,
both your security, both the security that you feel through the things that you know and understand, and the insecurity through the things that you're still worried about, I think both carry through into the dream state.
Yeah. I have to piggyback on that. I can't speak for martial arts, but I can speak for yoga. And I know one thing I've found so far on through my practice of yoga is, and it's one thing I love because it's so undeniable, it's not about getting better at the poses at all. If anything, it's almost not about the poses, but it's about the journey that the poses take you through, that the progression takes you through. It's that step by step by step. And halfway through, you know, you lose the mindset of, oh, I'm doing this because I want to be able to put my leg behind my head. You know, it's every step that got you to being able to put your leg behind your head. And once you get to that point, it's not even about your leg behind your head. It's having lost that and gained something so much more in the process of learning to do that.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. I want to say this, like, when, like, people say, like, you know, like, traumatic experiences, when you look at many superheroes, you look at, I mean, it used to, like, kind of, like, freak me out, but, like, when you think, almost every superhero has, like, this experience, you know, early on that kind of pushes them, it makes them afraid of that experience in particular, but it kind of, like, pushes them on this journey of the hero. It kind of, like, it kind of, like, sets them on a path.
Sometimes when one is deprived of pleasure to a certain extent, it seems like almost like they develop extra senses just so that they can cope with the environment.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
this
that
whole
makes
this
sense.
whole field, like science, mainstream science at least, won't try and examine these things
Well,
because it brings
they
into
have.
question the idea of consciousness.
Hmm.
And
You have to.
consciousness is something that most scientists know that they can't explain it. Because if they could explain it, they could create a machine, a robot, a computer, whatever, that was conscious.
Right.
And if they can do that, where are we going? Where are we going with all these ideas? Become like
Yeah,
a
I
bit
think
Well,
obscene.
if you check out Dr. BEM at Cornell University, he was somebody that he researched and basically showed that like this is not something that people you know make up. It is very very real and true that everybody has psychic abilities or clair
Yeah, yeah.
abilities.
So why
That's,
does all the scientists not want to investigate that? Surely it
Well,
will
because
be a
I
source of
feel that
fire.
because the media won't be able to sell fear anymore.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be like the
Well,
downfall of an industry, like in a sense, because I feel like consciousness is the definite and definite. We all know it's there. We all know it's there because we're all experiencing. In my personal experience, that is one of the only truths for me, is that I am currently now at this moment experiencing. Everything else I question because for me there's room to question everything
yes,
aside from the fact that I am conscious right now experiencing. But I think that it's so difficult because modern science or mainstream science, if you will, is looking at it from I don't want to say the wrong perspective, but an incorrect perspective. I don't think you can really look at consciousness from the scientific perspective we've gained so far in the same way that we look at, for example, molecules and DNA and all from a very, very logical standpoint. I feel like there has to be that room for, if you will, the questions to answer themselves, because I feel like when it comes to consciousness, it's all kind of already there. It just has to, I don't know how to really put that into words.
Well, quantum
quantum
physicists have really like
will
kind
say
of
what
bridged the gap. They've
Well,
done their best.
guys, to wrap things up right now, because it seems like it's like 12 o'clock already,
Oh.
is that from what you guys were talking about, and everything, is that what you guys like from what the lucid dream is? It's just basically is, to put it simple, it's just like a manifestation of our subconsciousness of what we put into ourselves. The moment that we set our minds into. That's what basically dream
it's
is.
it's what happens to a dream
So
at the moment that you
when
realize
you dream something,
do
it's
things
something
to the
you
dream.
do. However, like somehow in this world that we are experiencing, we are like putting fear into ourselves. We're experiencing things out of like this sense of violence, that sense of survival, and somehow martial arts, all those stuff have something to do with that. The only question is, which we will leave to the audience to answer, is what will you do?
We'll find out
Yeah, like what
next
will you?
time
Yeah,
on
find
Dragon
out next time
Ball
on
Z.
our healing centers webinar. So whoever it is out there watching us, we want to thank you for watching our shows, because the thing is it's been honorable that we have veterans, you name all those honorable people who serve our country, but this violence has to end. So as
Yeah,
we
I
salute to all
this
you veterans
anymore.
out there, we're ready. We honor you, man.
And all those at-risk youths out there who are sons and daughters of those veterans, we honor you.